Welcome in on this Wednesday morning, hump day, everybody. Hope you are all doing well and everything is going well in your world. A little rain this morning. Looks like it's clearing up. Looks like they won't have much problem for this Phillies 1 o'clock afternoon start today. So we welcome you in. Going to try to have a fun day here. Listen, we're elephant in the room. We're going to go right to it. A lot of layoffs here yesterday at the station. Not co-workers, friends, and that's hard. It doesn't matter for us, but for them, and our hearts are out to all of them. Business world is a tough place to be right now, and these unfortunate things have to happen, and it sucks, as we all know, whether it's your company, our company, anybody. So our hearts and thoughts and prayers go out to all of those affected yesterday. You know the names. And they know how much we care for them and are wishing for their best. So as we get started today, Amy Fadul, how are you doing this morning?
I'm very well. I wish I was sitting next to you and to Ray, but I am down here at our NBC Sports Philadelphia studios, but I'm so excited to join you for the next couple hours.
You're excited? You're really excited to go out? All right, good, because we have a lot of fun stuff on the board, Aim, that we want to get to today, and there's nothing more fun than what you're down there for, and that's these Phillies right now.
So I'm doing the Phillies pregame show coming up at 12:30. Obviously, the game's at 1 o'clock. And if they win today, they will match, they'll exceed, the longest home winning streak at Citizens Bank Park in its 20-year history, which is just remarkable. You cannot, and I know we talked about it yesterday. The Blue Jays aren't a very good team. They're beating up on the teams that they have to. We talked about that with Tom McCarthy as well. There was times in seasons past where they wouldn't do that, and it would be like, oh, you can't beat, the bottom dwellers and the teams that are coming in with these losing records. They're doing that this year, and they're doing it in ways. I mean, a grand slam for Pete's sake. There was a second grand slam for Bryce Harper this season. He's got 8 in his career. Cody Clemens takes his bat. He goes yard. I mean, it's fun times. Ray, you can't go today. I'm sure you're going later, though.
Yeah, I can't go today. I would think about making my trek down there, but a little disappointing for me not being able to get down to the ballpark. I had someone tweet at me last night asking if I was there because the game was going so well.
Exactly, because you're now the good luck charm. But it's been so much fun.
Maybe Ray and I should just take off down there after the show.
Well, come on down.
Maybe we should, Ray. I mean, we should be in for some fun.
We should be.
Yeah, the two of us, the three of us will join Amy. Do you have to work after the game, Aim?
We do the post-game show, yes.
Oh, man. That ain't right.
Says the guy in Sports Talk.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, listen, we're going to get into all these stories, but we can't do it until we do this.
Now, the front page. The stories everyone's talking about. 97.5, The Fanatic.
That's right. You're fighting Phils with a 10-1 win over the Toronto Blue Jays yesterday. Check this out. That's 7 wins in a row for the Phillies, 11 in a row at home, 18 of 21 overall. Just an unbelievable streak that they are currently on. As Amy mentioned, Bryce Harper gets a grand slam. He has 10 RBI in his last 3 games. He went 3-run homer, 3-run homer, grand slam. Coincidence that he's doing these things way after Trey Turner goes out? I don't know. We talk about a switch with players and teams an awful lot, and can you turn it on? Can you turn it off? Whatever it may be. I think Bryce Harper has a switch, and I think he can hit it pretty easily, and I think he did it over the last few days. Cody Clemens, all he does is get a triple and a home run and 4 RBI. Oh, yeah, that's right. He was using Bryce Harper's bat. So we can talk about all the players and pitchers and managers, whatever. No, the star of last night's game was Bryce Harper's bat. Christopher Sanchez, he goes 7 innings pitched, 6 hits. I termed it, and Ray, I don't know if you felt this way also. I kind of termed it last night, Sanchez, as a battle. Like, yeah, he put in 7 strong innings, but it wasn't like 7 easy strong innings, I didn't think.
No, it hasn't looked easy for his last couple starts, but there was a couple of efficient innings in there that I think puts him in a driver's seat to have the type of start he did.
Yeah, Aim, did you feel like it was one of those, like, breathe?
No.
7 inning. Yeah, he was battling, right?
He worked for it. He would get guys on, but he would get out of it, and maybe that's a good sign. It was definitely the longest I've seen him go, so that was probably the better sign, too, getting out of some of the situations. But, no, I mean, it wasn't a Ranger Suarez outing.
And as we know, he had Spencer Turnbull waiting in the bullpen because they were going to piggyback the two. And, yesterday we were told it was going to be 5-4, 6-3. Well, it turns out to be 7-2 because Sanchez was pitching so well. Turnbull comes in and gets the final 2 innings to secure the win. 6 of the 11 hits that the Phillies had last night were extra base hits. That's always good. I looked up some numbers today. All right, check this out. During the 18 of 21 winning streak or winning pattern that they're on, they've outscored their opponents 130-63. They've had 4 shutouts during those 18 wins. 12 times they've held opponents to 3 runs or less. And in 15 of those 18 wins, they've been won by a starting pitcher. That's pretty cool, I thought. It shows you how good you're getting starting pitching coming from this Phillies team. Today, 105, as we talked about, it'll be Aaron Nola versus Chris Bassett. 105 start against the Blue Jays. Bassett 2-5 this year with a 5.45 ERA. Moving on to your Philadelphia 76ers. There's still some fallout from the Daryl Morey press conference the other day. We'll look into, I had some trivia for Amy the last couple of days, but let's look into building this team and let's get more specific instead of the generalizations. There's some things that we can look at. Paul George, of course, has been a name. We have some numbers on him. He can become an unrestricted free agent by declining his $48.8 million player option with the Clippers, but he has to do that by June 30th. Should he do that, he's eligible for a 4-year, $221 million contract, but that's only with the Clippers. All other teams, including the Sixers, could sign him to a 4-year, $212 million contract. We'll talk about that a little bit. Tyrese Maxey, he's eligible to sign a 5-year, $205 million contract. That's pretty cool. You're just sitting around going, you know what? If I sign my name on this thing, I get $41 million a year for the next 5 years.
That's
Aim, I know you've done that before, but that's pretty cool.
$4.1. Maybe it's a little bit more like it. There you go. Now you have like $4 in your bank account. It's incredible and so well earned and well deserved. But to think where he came from to this, I mean, he has to be pinching himself. This is everything that he thought it was going to be and more. I
can't even imagine. I would love to go in that locker room and when he's getting his first check of that contract and say, come on, let's go through the drive-thru and see what they say. But I don't think that's going to. I did ask a player to do that before, Aim, and they just laughed. But they thought about it for a little bit, but then he said, I don't think it's in my best interest. With the Eagles, the morning show talked about this a little bit. Kenny Gainwell came out on a podcast and said some stuff about last year and how the year kind of fell apart. Okay. Different guys are going to see different ways in which it fell apart. Offensive guys may see it one way, but they see what happens with the defense and all. Last year was bad. You could have 55 different guys say in different ways that it was bad. I'm fine with all of it. I don't care. It's time to move on. In the national front, the Boston Celtics beat Cleveland last night in Game 1 of the NBA Eastern Conference semifinals. So they go up 1-0 there. Oklahoma City beat Dallas to go up 1-0 in their series out west. And then it just keeps getting better and better for New York fans. The Rangers win in double overtime. They beat the Carolina Hurricanes 4-3. They go up 2-0 in their series. What a time to be a New York fan. Amy, it hurts when I say that.
It's just, we were watching that game, and then it actually cut out at the end of the broadcast with like 30 seconds to go, and they came right back. Everybody's like, what? It was like, of course the Rangers won. Of course they did.
Yeah, I was on the phone. I was on the phone with Andrew and Joe Z, one of our sales guys. They called me last night, and we were talking. I go, oh, my God. They just switched out of the Rangers game. And, it was crazy. But it was funny because I'm watching that. The Rangers get a power play. I went downstairs to get something, and I said, if I go downstairs, I guarantee I'm going to come up and I'm going to have missed it. And sure enough, I missed the overtime goal by a second, but, of course, saw it on the replay. So that's what you got going on the front pages today. So, Aim, you have a team, 26-11 record, best record in baseball, and I am getting you a T-shirt made about it. Brib. It seems like it's coming pretty easy for the Phillies right now. Why do you think that is?
You mentioned it because it was like, Trey Turner goes down, and that should have been cause for panic at any other team, any other time with this team as well, and it didn't because of how well they're playing, because of all the other guys that are stepping up. It was such a common refrain when we were talking about the Sixers, especially in their series against the Knicks. Who else was going to step up? Phillies have had no problem. Pretty much everybody is stepping up. You have Johan Rojas was the big concern. That's laughable now when you see how he's been batting compared to where they started 4-6 and everybody was concerned, and now they're the best record in baseball. It just shows you, March and April don't really mean that much at the beginning of it. But yeah, I just think everyone is coming together. Everyone is over. And I'm not going to say overperforming in a bad way, but they've met their expectations and in some cases exceeding them. And I think when you have everybody doing that, that's what the result is this. Your sustainability is the concern now. And I love that we're talking about, can Ranger Suarez keep it going? Yeah, well, I'm sure he can keep going in some fashion. Bryce Harper can keep it going in some fashion. Alec Boehm. So even if they come back down to earth, quote unquote, they're still going to be pretty amazing, and they're still going to get the results because of the ways that they've found to win. Yes, they're hitting home runs. That's how they're always going to be. But it's not surprising because we thought this is how it was going to be when they ran it back. That team was a good team last year. Obviously, some guys struggled. Trey Turner, not the case this year. Obviously, now he's on the IL for another 6 weeks. But it's been a real refreshing to see everybody take the next step, specifically like an Alec Boehm and a Ranger Suarez to get back to where he was.
And it's funny because when you look at this, Zane, when you look at a 26-11 record, best team in baseball, you're probably sometimes like, look, it's early in the season. It's only 37 games. We all know the ins and outs of 162. But when you look at this team right now, if you were to told me at the beginning of the season 26-11, I would have said, okay, they're probably out hitting teams because you're always waiting for pitching to catch up and all of that. But it's just been a mix of everything, like you said, and nothing too surprising. I'm kind of phrasing that in the form of a question to you. Like, I didn't think Ranger Suarez. Look, did I think it might have been in him to go 6-0 and a 1 ERA? Sure, that's a great start. But things seems to me like it's totally out of character for either an individual or the team right now. Am I right in that or overlooking something?
We are who they thought they were. I mean, to channel Denny Creek, this is who they were expected to be. You saw glimpses of that at times last year. This is basically the same team where you had guys that were underperforming. And we haven't even talked about Nick Castellanos, who does seem to be coming around, got the double yesterday. So I think that Trey Turner performing and Alec Boehm becoming the player that everybody thought that he was going to be. Here's a guy that many experts out there a year or two ago thought he had the capability of, winning the batting title. You're seeing that right now. So I think it's just the perfect storm of you're not surprised because this is what you expected when you have that kind of payroll and this kind of talent. They're living up to it. We're just not used to it here because we're so gun shy from everything else that happens all the time. It's like we actually, this is happening to us, and this is in Philadelphia. You keep looking around like, when's the shoe going to drop? And the thing is, the shoe dropped when Trey Turner, had the hamstring injury, and yet we're fine. So the fallout, you're just waiting for it, and it's not coming because this team is rolling because of all the things that you said, because of Ranger Suarez becoming that guy, and because of all the bats coming alive. Not just home runs, manufacturing actual runs and singles and doubles.
Yeah, and, I mentioned in the front page about Bryce Harper flicking a switch. And, Trey Turner does go out, and you're immediately looking at either Whit Merrifield or you're looking at Edmundo Sosa, and you're saying, one of these guys has to pick it up and all. Okay, but you also need the bigger players to stay big or play bigger. Do you think it's that easy for a Bryce Harper that he does, okay, he's out, I really got to, get into. There was a thing last night that happened, Aim, and this is really weird, and this is my stupid mind. I think and Ray, I don't know if you noticed this. It was his first at bat, Bryce Harper, right? So he digs in, and he's getting ready to go, and he gets a pitch thrown to him, which is a ball or a strike, whatever, and the catcher goes to throw it back, and he kind of waited a second like, is he going to get out of my way so I can throw the ball back? Harper didn't move.
Yeah.
And it was weird, and it's just something I noticed, the littlest of things. He was like, it's like as a foul shooter, I was always taught, if you make one, don't back off the line, right? Stay where you are because you did it right. Stay where you are and go. And it reminded me of that last night. Although he's taking pitches, he's not moving out of that box. He's like
He's
I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's his spot.
And then
That's
he had
his
a
spot.
really good at bat where he fouled off some pitches and boom, gets a base hit to left field. That stuck out to me as much last night as almost anything.
I think when this guy is locked in, I mean, you asked if he can turn the switch on. I think the switch is always at the ready for him. I don't know if he physically is like, all right, now I need to really amp it up. Maybe he does when he sees a guy like Trey Turner, especially the way Trey Turner had been hitting. Maybe he's like, I really need to lock in. He's notorious for slower starts to the season. And if this is a slow start to the season, I hate to see what the rest of the season is going to look like. But a lot of times it's like you kind of wait, okay, May now you start to see him coming, and then he just takes off. So April has been a little bit of a slower start. Maybe it's just something that triggered it earlier, like the Trey Turner injury for him. But when he's locked in, like you said, that describing that bat and being physically just like locked into that batter's box. This is my batter's box. If you want to do something, it ain't yours. Okay, it's called the batter's box, and that's something, you know, when people are pitching or hitting, you hear that a lot. Like, it's called the batter's box. This is mine, and that's why the pitcher's like, oh no, that's my corner, and I'm going to paint it, and I'm going to brush you off of it. It's a battle of that, and I think he's always at that kind of level of this is mine, and it's mine for the taking, and I'm here to do the damage. And you can get out of my way, but I'm not moving. You know what I mean? Like, that's just his mentality, I think.
Yeah, and it wasn't like they were going, you know, against a bad pitcher last night.
No, Berrios.
Like, he was
the reigning pitcher of the week.
Right. And
or
like,
a month or whatever.
Yeah, and had spectacular outings leading up to that. The fact that you're going against a guy who is very hot on the mound, and you're just, like I said, Bryce Harper at bat. He just waited it out, fouled off pitches that he didn't like, battled, and then gets a base hit, and later on gets a grand slam in the game, and they wind up chasing Berrios out. This team is just really good doing it in a whole bunch of ways right now.
And that's what makes it so fun, because you really don't know what you're going to get. I think you're always going to expect a home run, whether it comes from Kyle Schwarber or Bryce Harper or whomever. But I think that you're seeing other ways. The pitching coming on this early, and we talked about sustainability, Ranger Suarez, the streak that he's on, the 7 straight starts, the 6-0. Like, this guy's not going to be perfect the entire year, but he's shown you that he can, you know, pitch in a way that is helpful for the team. He shuts everybody down. So even if you're not having one of those big bopper nights and you're only going to get 3 runs, that used to be like, okay, well, yikes, that's not going to be enough for this team. And it has been. And I think, you know, I know we're going to talk about it coming up, but Spencer Turnbull, that could be a good spot for him. And I think if they keep him warm, I think they want to keep him warm, keep him going, because if Sanchez had kind of gone sideways, I think that would have been a possibility. I think that's why they stretched him out a little bit more. They got him to go. That was the longest outing for Christopher Sanchez this season. Not that we're so many games into the season, but when you have things like that where everything seems to be coming up your way, you want to take advantage of it. And that's one thing I think that this team is doing, is they're taking of it. They're putting these teams away. There's no question. There's not these, maybe like 3 or 4 weeks ago, it was like, you know, it was 9-4. Now it's 9-7. Like, what's happening? That's not happening right now. And I know the Blue Jays aren't a very talented team, but they have people that can hit, and they have pitchers that can pitch. And the Phillies just made them look silly yesterday.
Yeah, last night was kind of it was a game, not a game inside the game, a game inside the season. And by that, what I mean is, I thought Rob Thompson was looking at Christopher Sanchez and going, okay, let's see. Should we give him one more? Yeah, let's try one more. Let's see if he explodes. Let's see what happens. You had Turnbull in there ready to go. And I thought it was like, okay, good. We got goodness out of him. So now 4, that could have been Turnbull, or 3 only turns into 2 for a guy that, you know, you're obviously pitch watching or inning watching this year. I thought last night turned out perfectly for him.
And that's exactly what I think they were doing, because we were watching and thinking, ooh, is Sanchez going to come back out? And then when he did, you thought, okay, they want to see something. And you know, we obviously just talked about it, but he did struggle. I mean, struggle, that's scoreless. But he had times where it was like, like there's some guys on, he's in a little bit of trouble. It seemed like he was having a little trouble with his location. And then he got out of it. I think that's a whole learning experience for this coaching staff when they're looking at how this rotation is going to shake out. We know that they're going to go 5. Zach Wheeler does not like to have that extra day of rest. He likes to keep in his rhythm, so they're going to go with what their ace says. And that's how he likes to work. That's how a lot of the pitchers like to work, and rightfully so. So it's like, what do? We have this, you know, extra pitcher right now. We need to keep him ready. Let's see what Sanchez has. And I thought Sanchez showed a lot. And I'd imagine they felt pretty good about what they saw as far as his ability to get out of any kind of situation where it could have gone sideways. and they could have had a couple of runs come up, and then you wonder, is that going to snowball for him? You got Spencer Turnbull out there. It's hard for a guy, I'd imagine, thinking that you're pitching for your job every time, but maybe that helps you stay sharp.
Yeah, and I'm in total agreement with you that I think that was a game inside the season last night, how they were looking at Christopher Sanchez, and he came through. And it seems like that's what's happening early on in the season. When they're looking for something, guys are coming through, and it lends to a 26-11 record. All right, I want to say hi to all our YouTube family. I see you on there. I understand you on there. Hang with us, please. That's all we ask of you. Hang with us. We're here to do the best we can with what we have, so we will be here with you for the rest of the time going on. My first question I'm going to throw out there to you today, where you can answer at 610-632-0975. Who's your most trusted athlete in this city? Who do you trust the most? If there's a time that maybe times are going good, you know that you can look at him because he's the one leading the team to goodness. Or if things start to falter a little bit, maybe he's the guy you look at and say, yeah, but it's not going to get too deep as long as he's here. Who's your most trusted athlete in this city right now? 610-632-0975. Amy Fadul's going to hang with us until about noonish because, she's flaking out on us again because she doesn't like us all that much. Ray Dunn is producing. This is Middays. Bob Cooney, 97.5, The Fanatic. Plus, make no down payment with no payments and no interest for 12 full months. Call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com. So the first question I put out there to you today, after your Philadelphia Phillies have the Brib. We all know what it is. Amy has a T-shirt. Yeah, I saw the T-shirt you were wearing today. Capital B-R-I-B, and then it has best record in baseball written like silently after those letters. Great T-shirt, Amy. I'm glad you went with it. It's a shame people can't see you today because you're not here with us, but it is a great shirt. You took a picture of it and sent it to us earlier, so that was awesome. So you got the Brib shirt going on.
Yep.
But I put it out there because Amy, this is one of my themes of sports life. I love the different ways people look at sports, whether it's positively, negatively, this player, this coach, whatever. I love that conversation. So I put out there today, who is your most trusted athlete in this city right now? I'll give you mine first, Dame, and then we have some callers on here at 610-632-0975. Call us now. Let us know your most trusted player in this city right now. Mine is someone off the beaten track. And I told you, Aim, you know how I watch sports. Superstars, yes, they're the greatest. I love to watch the other pieces that make things go. Like 1983 Sixers team that won the championship. They had 4, what could have been 5 Hall of Famers on there. I love the point guard. Like, I love the guy that just made everything go, became my favorite player of all time, and Maurice Cheeks. Right now in Philadelphia, and maybe it's because they have the Brib, I got to go to a Philadelphia Philly, and mine is this. If I'm looking for a Philadelphia Philly that I say, you know what, he's going to keep this team in line, it's JT Realmuto.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't, and I told you, if I was a follower as an athlete, which I think is so funny in professional sports, need leaders. Okay, you guys need to be followers then. But anyway, if I was a follower in a professional sport, I'm in the locker room lacing up my cleats. Yeah, he's the guy that I'm looking to more often than not, like, I want to carry myself like him. Who would you have, Aim?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I love that. I think that's good.
Thank you.
That's really good. You surprised me. I did not know. I thought you were going to say.
I said something that you liked. You immediately say, oh, I like what you said. And then your next sentence is, you surprised me?
Well, yeah, because I thought you were going to say somebody else off the beaten path.
All right.
Not off the. Yeah, that's a hard one because you really have to go across all. It's hard not to go with a Philly, given the fact that the Sixers season just lost, in the way that the Eagles ended their season, and then the Flyers as well. So it's like, well, we're going to go with the winning team right now. That's who we trust as the winning team. And I'm going to go with Zach Wheeler.
Oh, that's good.
Because some of the same thing. That's why I thought you. I'm like, you can't see me, and it's a shame because I was like,
can't see your shirt, nothing. Your Brib shirt,
my Brib shirt that I bedazzled. But no, I was just saying, like, oh my gosh, he's going to say Zach Wheeler, because of the same things. Like, if you're in the clubhouse, and if you're in with the starting pitching, which is so important coming into the postseason, that's a guy that I'm looking to. That's my calming influence. That's a guy that I can, look to for any kind of resource. And I'm specifically thinking of guys like Ranger Suarez and even Aaron Nola and then Christopher Sanchez and Taijuan Walker. Here's a guy that's been through it and has had some success and wants to have more of it. He's your number one. He is the calming influence in that particular part of the clubhouse. It's so important to have that. So that's why I was surprised, because I was like, oh, I thought you were going to say Zach Wheeler. So I thought we were on the same similar vibe, but not the same exact player.
So I like the Wheeler answer, but here's the one reason I can't. Now, there's something
that goes every 5 games.
That's the reason I can't.
Right.
But the reason you can is because what is the definition of a number one of an ace? You're the guy that breaks the string of, if the team is going bad, 4 losses in a row, it ain't going to happen on that 5th day because you're the guy going out there. So to what you're saying, that's the evidence on your side. The reason I didn't go with it yet, because it is a guy that goes every 5th day. Ray Dunn, what say you? Most trusted athlete in this city right now for you?
I think I'm looking at this totally different than you are in the sense of I like to drop myself into the moment of feeling of watching, and I always go back to that 2022 NLCS. And the moment I knew that game was over was when I heard Mr. Rager come over the loudspeaker, and I knew Ranger Suarez was coming into the game. And I feel so at ease with him pitching. And I think it's just because he seems to give off just an aura of control when he's on the mound. And right now, I think he's taken really his ability and married it with just a laser focus on what he's trying to accomplish every time out there. And I feel so at ease watching him pitch.
Yeah.
And I think that, to me, makes him my most trusted player right now in Philadelphia, because I know if I sit down and watch that guy, I have a feeling right now my expectation will be met. And it's something I've had with him for a while. I think when you see him in so many different roles and he shows you how he can excel in so many different roles, and the only times really over the last couple of years where I've been like, what's wrong with him, have been more because of issues with the arm, issues,
Right.
with bad spring training. Like
Getting here on time.
Yeah, those types of things where it's been out of his control. When he's in control, it's a very fun watch. And it's like an easy watch.
It is an easy watch,
I
yeah.
just enjoy it. And I make the joke about him feeling the ground balls, but that's how you just feel about his demeanor out there, where he just seems like he's in control and everything's going at the pace that he wants. He's not sped up by anything. He doesn't lose himself too often. I trust him the most, I think, of any athlete in Philly.
I like it. So
Wow,
we have
okay.
3 different ones on the table, and Nick in Riverside has yet another one. Nick, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's going on, buddy?
Yeah, how you doing? It's
Good.
funny that Amy said Zach Wheeler, because that was honestly my first thought. But I went through every team, and my next thought was A.J. Brown. He's been very good over the years. He's had 18 touchdowns, and I believe a lot of yards, so a lot of receptions. So yeah, that would be my most trusted athlete. He's been great for the Eagles in the past 2 years for us.
He has, and there's been games, Nick, and I'll be honest, there's been games where you're like, all right, just get the ball to A.J. Brown. That's trust, right? That's what is defining what I'm asking the question right now. That's your trust in A.J. Brown, right?
Number 1 receiver, he's been great for us. We picked him up, gave him a huge contract. Another one I thought of was Tyrese Maxey. He's very young, and I feel like he's going to be great for us over the years. But A.J. Brown is just, he's going to be our guy for a very long time, I feel like, especially with how young Jalen Hurts is and everything, and the rebuild for the Eagles just recently. So I just feel like, you got to trust A.J. Brown. He's the most trusted athlete in Philadelphia, I feel like.
All right, Nick, you got it. A.J. Brown is on the list. There are times during, tight games where I know I've been sitting there saying, all right, just throw the ball to A.J. Brown. Especially when they struggle in the passing game, Aim. It's like, get the ball to A.J.
Yeah,
Brown.
there you
He's
go.
going to catch the ball. He's going to make a play.
I think that also about Devontae Smith, to be honest.
Yeah.
He has such sure hands. Like, you need 8 yards. Where's Devontae? Like, look for A.J. Brown. They have 1 and 1A right now. I mean, it's just truly remarkable to think that they have that embarrassment of riches at the wideout position. But there's 2 guys really. I think if the game's on the line, or you need, it's 4th and 7, and you need 8 yards, 7 yards. Like, let's go. I'm looking for Devontae as well. But he had a good point in the fact that there's a lot of guys that you should be able to kind of have that faith in. Tyrese Maxey hopefully being one of them, that keeps on growing in that role. And then Jalen Hurts, you want that to continue and to kind of get that role back, because I think he had it. And then the way that last season ended obviously made it harder to think that he's that guy, but he is shown to be that guy. But as far, it's funny, Bryce Harper is obviously that guy. Maybe that's why we haven't talked about, the guy comes through, and I thought Ray was going there for a second, and then he surprised me with the Ranger. Talking about coming through.
Yeah, Ray is very surprising at times. You don't know whether he's coming or going.
That's it. He goes
at
left
times,
and we go
but,
right.
Yeah, and it's funny. Tyrese Maxey, trust. Some people point to what game was it? Game whatever, where he didn't shoot all that well against the Knicks and didn't have the point production maybe that you needed. People might, and it's hard to come out with a sixer, I'll say, after they just lost a 5-game series.
That's why it's hard to look at an Eagle. I think the A.J. Brown one is good, but it's harder to look at the Eagles because you look at how that season ended.
Well, I'll tell you what, though, if we go back, and since you mentioned this name, and we don't want to mention all the names because people will want them to call, 610-632-0975 to let us know, who do you trust most? I'm opening it up even more, Aim. Here's what I'm going to do. Forget just players. We're talking ownership. We're talking general managers. We're talking player or personnel. Director of blank operations. Will go that way. Who do you trust the most in this city right now as far as the sports scene goes? Because there could be a myriad of good answers. And if we brought this question up, say, I don't know, after the season the Eagles played in the Super Bowl and lost, I think one of the names you mentioned may have gotten a lot of votes, and that's Jalen Hurts.
I think across the board, you would have probably said a lot about the Eagles. And I think there is still a lot of trust there. The ownership you trust after the draft and everything you saw. I think there's a lot of trust in Howie Roseman because you look at more than just the recency. You look at more than the last 8 months. You look at the bigger picture. But I think Jalen Hurts is a guy that you have absolutely said. I mean, the Super Bowl, he was right there. He was in the MVP conversation. And it's hard not to get back there. I think if he has another start like he did in that year, you're thinking, all right, well, now he's back. Last year was a blip. Now he's back to what we expect of him.
Yeah, so there's a myriad of answers that we can come up with. Who is the person, the athlete, or coach, GM, president of operations, however you want to state it, who's the person you trust the most here in Philadelphia? 610-632-0975. Ray, we have a text on it, on the text board?
Yes, we do. Good answer for the Birds here. Lane Johnson as the athlete you trust the most.
Oh, that's not bad. That's a
good
great one. Doesn't have a bad game. Doesn't give up sacks. He's always there. Well, I mean, there's been some injuries, but of late is always there. That is a real good one, Aim.
That is a very good one. As soon as you said Lane Johnson, I thought, oh, yes. Especially now maybe coming into a line where you don't have Jason Kelsey. And I think that he is the anchor of that. I mean, the center's the anchor, but he's going to be the elder statesman. I think even more so. He's a guy, he's very reliable. You have to go back quite a ways to remember when he wasn't, as reliable with whether it was injuries or whatever. He has been that guy for them for a long time, and he's going to need to be that guy, especially this year. That's a guy I would trust for sure.
Absolutely.
That's a great answer.
That is one of the better answers we have right now. We're going to have to mark that one down in Lane Johnson. Hey, I want to tell you, don't forget that Sunday is Mother's Day, as we all know. So you need to head to 975thefanatic.com to enter for a chance to win $2,000 for Mom in the Mother's Day nationwide contest. It's sponsored by Pilates Florist. Make Mom's Mother's Day special with beautiful flowers from Pilates Florist. Now with 3 locations to serve you, visit pilatesflorist.com. Okay, when we get back, a little more into this. Who do you trust the most on the Philadelphia sports scene right now? 610-632-0975. Amy Fadul's with us. She's down covering the Phillies today. She's going to stay with us till about 12. We have to talk about the best record in baseball team because that's what they're doing right now and so much fun to watch. All that, a whole lot more. Middays, Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fan. Hey, welcome back to Middays. Bob Cooney here, along with Amy Fadul, who's going to be here with us up until noon, until her Phillies duties take over. But we're so glad that you're joining us today on what has turned out to be a bright and sunny Wednesday late morning. Amy, how's the ballpark look? Everything good down there?
It's beautiful. Yeah, it was really pouring this morning. I woke up early, and I thought, uh-oh.
What's that, like 9 o'clock you got up?
5:30.
Atta girl.
And there we go, up early, listening to our morning show for a bit as I was getting everybody ready, and I thought, like that doesn't look good. And then now it's cleared up. Looks like a good day for a win in my book.
Yeah, it certainly does. Aaron Nola on the mound today, going for your fighting Phillies. You just expect goodness now. Like, teams get there sometimes. You know, the Eagles have been there through the years, especially a couple years ago. You'd go 14-3 in the regular season. They get out to that 10-1 start, but you weren't expecting all good then. But, like, sometimes teams just exude good feelings for whatever reasons. A 26-11 record will say that. Winning 18 of 21 obviously will say that. But it seems deeper with this team, Aim. It doesn't seem just like the surface. Yes, this is their record. This is what they're doing. What's the deepness of why we feel so good about this team besides the record that they're putting up?
Well, I think it's the depth. I think that it's that everybody is participating in this. It's not one or two guys that are hitting. It's not one pitcher that's performing well. It's just not one guy in the bull. It's everybody, and I think that's why it's so refreshing to see, because it's each night. It's not just, well, we're waiting for the one guy to step up. Okay, no, you're waiting for like 3 or 4 guys to come through for you. 3 or 4 guys are gonna have a double and a single and a couple of RBI. 3 or 4 guys are going to go through and have a home run or a triple. And I think that's it. And then you'll have the pitcher perform, and then the guy, whoever is in the bullpen, will come in. It's that everything's kind of lining up, and I think that's why there's that confidence that even if somebody is off, like Aaron Nola coming off maybe not a great start, there's still the confidence. One, he's going to bounce back, and 2, if he doesn't, look, like we got people that are going to pick him up with the runs, and you've got guys are going to pick him up in the bullpen. That's the hope, and I think that there hasn't been anything in recent, the last several series at this point. I mean, they're going for sweeps after sweeps after sweeps in this one that doesn't let you to believe that. Like, why wouldn't you believe that? You have to.
A lot of brooms going on down there. All right, today's starting lineup for your Philadelphia Phillies for the 105 game against the Toronto Blue Jays. Schwarber leading off at DH, Real Muto catching, hitting third, Harper at first base. Alec Boehm back in the lineup at third base tonight. Brandon Marsh playing left field. Nick Castellanos out in right field. Batting seventh is Bryson Stott at second base. Edmundo Sosa hitting eighth at shortstop. And Rojas out in center field hitting ninth. So that's Schwarber, Real Muto, Harper. Boehm, Marsh, Castellanos. Stott, Sosa, Rojas. Now, Aim, I've been noticing a little bit. We brought it up to Tom McCarthy yesterday. Nick Castellanos looks like he's turning that corner a little bit.
Buddy.
Looks like he's hanging in a little bit more. You got Liam in the house the last couple of nights. He's getting hits. Liam, good luck charm there. What do you see out of Castellanos maybe that's a little bit different now that we weren't seeing when he was slumping so badly at the beginning of the season?
Well, I'll take something that, and Tom, he mentioned it as well. We're so fortunate here that we get to hear from guys that have played in the big leagues, and they see stuff that when they point it out and you look at it like they look at it, you're like, oh, yeah, no, I see what. As far as waiting for his pitch, and I mean that like when Ricky and Ben and Ruben talk about that, he's not trying to do too much. Maybe that was when you have a slower start like he did to this season and was struggling. I mean, he was struggling at the plate. He was looking for stuff that wasn't there. Now he's seeing what they're giving him and doing what he can with it. And I think that that's a big difference as far as his timing goes, as far as what he's trying to do with the ball. I mean, it was not that long ago. It was like, oh, there's his first double. There's his first single. There's his first triple. Now the expectation is there because he seems to be had the double last night to drive in the run. And you're thinking, okay, well, this is a much better. Everything he doesn't have those at-bats where he's swinging out of the strike zone, where he's swinging too early, or he's just watching, good pitches go by. He looked befuddled at times, and you don't see that. He doesn't have those at-bats where it's 3, balls come across the plate and then he's like going to sit down. You're like, what happened? Or they're coming across and they're completely out of the zone and they're dropping away from him or down and in, and he's just swinging at air, and you're thinking you look lost. I've not seen those at-bats from him in a game in several weeks at this point.
Yeah, and I think it has to be easier too on him, Aim, that the team is playing this well.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like I could understand if they were a 500 team and people were getting anxious and kind of being like, "Oh my God, this is what they did the last 2 years. The Braves are playing well. Now you're going to play catch up. Now he's pressing a little bit." It has to help that the team is playing so well early on.
Talk about free and easy, because you don't have to be the guy to get we really need you to get this one run because we're down 5-4 or we're
Right.
only up 5-4 and the bullpen's been shaky. He doesn't have that. So maybe that's lent itself to the reason he's seeing some better at-bats. The pitches are looking better to him, and everything seems a little bit more relaxed. I think that there's something to that. I think there's something to that with Rojas as well. Like, you don't need to be all world. We need you to just hit what your baseball card says you're going to hit. Nick Castellanos has been in these slumps that he's just never been in before. You just look at his career and it's never happened.
Yeah.
So you're waiting for it. And I think the team performing well, he can get back to where listen, I'm just here to hit baseballs. What was his old thing? Like, I didn't go to college.
Yeah.
I just am here to
I get paid to hit baseballs.
Exactly. Well, now you're doing it. And so he has that kind of attitude back and that swag or whatever. And when your team is winning, you have that ability. You don't need to be tight and trying to reach and do something that you don't need to do. Just take what they're giving you and hit it out of the park.
Cousin Ryan in Havertown, he's believing in Nick Castellanos. Ryan, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, Bob, how are you? How's the family?
Doing great. How about you?
Wonderful. I'm taking the little one to the game today.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Good for you.
I'm buying in, and Nick Castellanos is making the turn, and, the pressure's off of him, so I think that he's going to start getting better at bats, and he's playing a baseball bat better.
Right. What do you see from him? When he's off, we can all pick up how off he is. What do you see that's making him better over the last few games in your eyes?
Patience at the plate.
That's a great one.
He went up there yesterday, and he didn't just go hacking at the first pitch. He waited, made sure it was his, and he took a nice, good swing. He may not hit it, but he didn't just go up there swinging wildly.
5 for his last 14, and thanks, Ryan. Appreciate it. Over his last 4 games, Nick Castellanos is 5 for 14. He scored 4 runs, has 3 RBIs, a couple of walks, and that comes into play as much as anything. Walks, like Ryan was talking
The
about.
patience at the plate, waiting for the pitch that you want to hit and not swinging out of stuff because you're trying to get on base and trying to swing out of your slump and trying to do too much. You're waiting for something that's good. And the beginning of the season, he wasn't. He was swinging at those pitches, and it was awful. It was hard to watch. And so, it is patience at the plate, but I think that's the two go hand in hand.
Yeah.
He's definitely the ball a lot better.
Yeah, so we have a lot more coming up. Amy's got us for another hour. We have Amy for another hour, however we want to put it. I want to get into some different things with Amy, not just Phillies, but we talked Sixers and everything that Daryl Morey had to say the other day. Let's try to get specific here and try to maybe throw out a starting lineup for this Sixers team come game 1 next year. Also, as we talked about earlier, Kenny Gainwell had some things to say about the Eagles. We'll dip into that a little bit. Amy Fadul's here until noon, not midnight, noon. Ray Dunn producing. I'm Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic. Thanks for coming back with us. 11 o'clock hour here at 97.5 The Fanatic. Middays, Amy Fadul is with us today down at the... Amy, where are you exactly? Are you in the...
We are in, if you ever watch The Best Show Ever, this is we call it the Ricky Radio Room. It's the radio room inside of our NBC Sports Philadelphia studios, which are inside the Wells Fargo Center.
Oh, it's named
Fun
after
fact.
Ricky Pitalico already. It's not the Ricky Pitalico Memorial.
No, it's not.
Broadcast.
He's still with us.
Yes.
There's some kind of little label outside the building put on it, but that's what we call it, is the radio room. And so, yes, usually there's the camera here, but I don't know if it just functions for Ricky and maybe just not for me. But we're going to work on that next time. No, what? Next time I'll just be in studio.
All right. I'm down with that.
With you.
Yeah, we like it better when you're here in studio. The ray of sunshine that you are doesn't shine here in studio when you're not here. Yes, so.
Trying to admit it doesn't come through.
No, it may be sunny other places, but in this studio right now, it is not. It's dark and gloomy. All right, I want to tell you the 11 o'clock hour. It's brought to you by Golden Nugget Jewelers, where Philly gets engaged. We have a question out there that I threw out in the 10 o'clock hour, and that is this. Who is your most trusted person on the Philadelphia sports scene? 610-632-0975. Call us now. Let us know. Text us and let us know. Ray, you say we have another text about this?
Yes, we had Phil from Nashville who started with the great one and added another great one with a follow-up text. But first up, Dave Dombrowski.
Not bad. He popped into my head, yeah.
I mean, how could you not at this point?
Yeah.
The combination of he and John Middleton, I think it's should I say it?
You can.
Should I say it's Howie Jeffrey-like?
I thought that's where you were going.
Is it? Okay. It is.
It's
there.
I mean,
yeah, it is, right, Aim?
You win a World Series, and then it's there because they've constructed a team to do just that. Howie and Jeffrey Lurie did that. They won the Super Bowl. They've gotten back to it. Yeah, the Phillies have been to the World Series. They obviously want to win the whole thing. If it's approaching it, if it's not right there, they're knocking on the door.
And I think with Dombrowski, and just from my vantage point, and just, you read so much, listen to so much people talking about the organization, it seems from top to bottom, it seems like an organization on the same page. And while obviously we talk so much about the stars that they went out, paid to get, and brought in here, we for a long time looked at this organization as like, okay, when are they going to produce some guys here? We've seen some homegrown guys come up, and it's been great. But I think they've finally put this organization top to bottom, organized with a way to develop and grow guys. You get the Kirkering success story. You're starting to see some younger guys flash down on the farm. And I think that's because they've identified as an organization what they want to go after, what they value, and then how do you start to grow those players and build them up to, hey, eventually we have to supplement this massive payroll. And I think that is a credit to Dombrowski because he kind of looked at this organization, assessed it, and was able to say, okay, here's where we need to go forward. And I think that's put them in a much better spot.
It is pretty cool when you look at this current build of this Phillies team, which, Ray, you labeled out perfectly. World Series 2 years ago. Should have been in the World Series last year. They hired a manager midway through 2 years ago who has turned into absolute gold. And Tom McCarthy called him a rock star yesterday. All of that. But look at this roster now. And I know 3 years ago, 3 years ago, I'll say, we were talking about this Phillies team saying, oh, my God, the farm system, it just stinks. But look what you have in here now. So you have Alec Boehm at third base. You have Bryson Stott at second base. You have Rojas out in center field. You have Suarez, Aaron Nola's homegrown. Like, you have a plethora of guys on contributors, big-time contributors on this team that have come up through the farm system.
And I think that's when you go back to the earlier question of, like, why do you feel good about this team? Why is there confidence across the board when they take the field? It's because of all. This is not some team that was cobbled together in the offseason. It was cobbled together over a period of time, and we've seen the success. And these are guys that you've seen come up through the system and develop, and there is the belief that they are going to be together and they're going to get to that promised land. And you've seen it. They've gotten close. And it was so disappointing, I think, last year in the way that the bats went so cold after such a hot start to the postseason. That's when it was like, really, like, come on, because you're right there. They were so close, and you thought if they could just put it together, they could have beaten that Diamondbacks team, and then they would have been the favorite to win the World Series.
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing how this team has gone from, wow, they went to the World Series that year, it wasn't expected, to now they're kind of that juggernaut might be too big of a word, but expected.
Through the first month.
Really good team, yeah.
And when you look at what Dombrowski's done, to go back to just the trust in him, I think the biggest example of this is the way that they have found what they value in the bullpen. And we've talked for so many years about they were just kind of behind on the whole just throw gas and kind of figure it out from there. Well, they've figured out they've been able to identify guys, bring them in here, and have them have career years. I mean, Hoffman, look at him. Look at what Alvarado's turned into. We talk on this show so much about Junior Marte, but they've showed you through the first month, he looked really, really good. They knew he had the stuff. It's about harnessing. It's about figuring it out. And I think they've identified what they want, and it takes that to build around the margins. We were so mad at this bullpen for so many years.
Right.
And now we're talking about, okay, the question is who's the closer, not the question is, oh, we're going to freak out every time someone comes out of the bullpen. Like, you've seen number of guys come in here and be effective out of the bullpen because I think they've identified what they want and how to properly work with them and put them in a position to succeed. And I think that, again, goes to the organizational philosophy from the guy at the top.
Speaking of the bullpen, you have Spencer Turnbull comes out yesterday and gives you 2 innings. I don't know if you guys saw the quote that he had after the game. He said, I felt like a baby giraffe going out there. he didn't feel real comfortable, but it's a role that they're going to plug him into a little bit more. Arthur in Scottsdale, we're talking about athletes that you trust. I think Arthur's bringing up somebody that he doesn't trust. Arthur, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Listen, the guy I don't trust are the Phillies managers because, listen to me, it's early in the season. Baseball don't start till after All-Star break. Yeah, the Phillies are hard now, but you got a long way to go, and there's injuries that can come up. Should we just give you guys the ring now and end it?
Did anybody say that?
Well, it sounds like that's like you're saying like they're unbeatable.
We're not saying that. They're
we said we have
26 and
co- yeah.
11. They have the
We have
best record in
confidence in
baseball.
them. We have confidence.
You know, well, that's okay, confident but not cocky. That's a good thing to be, confident but not cocky. You know what I mean? But I think in baseball's a long season, brother. It's a long way. But I like to talk a little bit about my man, MB. I want the Sixers to take a picture of him with 2 minutes left, with his hands on his knees, and say, why is he still in Philadelphia? I like the Sixers, but why is he still there? Don't start stuttering now.
I'm not stuttering. I thought you had more to say. I mean, you know, you're talking about one of the 5 best players in basketball. They've invested this much in him now. As a business side, Arthur, yeah, I came to the conclusion probably last year that you just have to ride out his career from here on out. He's 29, 30 years old. You know, can you get things around him and try to grab a championship? I feel better trying to do that than unleashing him and try to build again.
Yo, brother, listen to me. The biggest mistake New York made was when Eli won the Super Bowl the second time. They should have let him go instead of paying him. Okay? You guys are paying. Just fight your losses and write it up as a loss and let him go because he ain't an asset. And don't talk about LeBron James no more. I hate his shadow. He's the biggest loser out there.
Yeah, he's a loser. 10 NBA Finals.
Terrible.
Thanks, Arthur. Appreciate it. Yeah, he's
That's
a
a
loser.
lot. That's a lot of negativity. That's
Wow,
hard to take right now,
You know,
Arthur.
Arthur's when you're in the pen for a while. That's kind of
Calling in,
Yeah,
calling in
that's-
from out of state, bringing us the.
Well, you know, I think what's that? What is Arthur? What do you call? Why is it leaving my head?
I don't know.
When somebody
Debbie Downer?
No. When you're when the police put you in protection, I think he's under
Witness protection?
I think he's under witness protection out there in Scottsdale.
I mean, it's
And I don't say that lightly.
LeBron's a loser, and then he says, Joel Embiid, cut your losses. So just eat that salary and don't get a player for it. And it's just remarkable. Like, that's not reality. Like, okay, we're all done with you. And then he brings up Eli. Okay, they should have gotten from Eli. Okay, like what? What's happening?
Congratulations to Eli. Being compared to Joel Embiid. That's pretty
impressive.
great.
Eli's going to the Hall of Fame.
Exactly. Eli's a Hall of Famer, has 2 Super Bowl rings. And
Yeah.
He's just going to cut.
And
Just
that's cool. That's cool to look back after the second. Now,
Yeah,
to look back.
back over
Oh, they
the-
should have cut ties back then. Okay, yeah, that was
how
many
good has
years
it been
ago?
for the Giants
Yeah.
since Eli's been gone?
Exactly.
Yeah, this has been so
It's Eli's fault.
rewarding. Yeah,
I
mean,
got to
whatever.
tell you, though, watching that New
That's
York
remarkable.
Rangers game last night, and look, I got to give kudos where kudos are due. Their fans up there are in a rabid state of mind, and it's kind of fun to watch. It's fun to watch. I don't care that it's New York. If it was L.A., Boston, Cleveland, when fans are into it and having that much fun, sorry, I like fun. Fun's the best thing to have in my book. That's kind of fun to watch. But, God, I couldn't stand it that I know they're going to change the court to basketball tonight, and it's going to be the same thing up in New York again. Why are they having nice things now, Aim? Why is this happening?
It's not fair. They've gone so long without nice things. I mean, the Knicks were mired in mediocrity, sometimes below mediocrity. They were a laughing stock, and everybody thought the league is so much better if the Knicks are playing well. We said that. We said that here when they made the playoffs a couple of years. Look at the Knicks, that little engine that can go. It's so much better. No, I take it all back. It's not better. It's worse. I don't like it. I don't want them to have joy because it's not a very good sports town. People there's like 5 people that are invested, and you hear them all the time. The rest, I'm with Kelly Oubre. They're just buying those or getting those tickets for free because they're a celebrity. I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
No, and
my sad face.
The more I watch, and I said this during the series, I think you were in with us, Aim. I thought they were kind of fraudulent fans. When their team gets down by like 2 or 4, they're not like all into it to get their team over the hump. They'll cheer their asses off when the team gets the lead. But like to me, they're just kind of that kind of fan. Like when the lead and things are going good, they're unbelievable.
That's the people in. It's like New York has good fans. They're out there. They just don't go to the games because it's the price is exorbitant. It is so. That's why you saw them down here. They could actually afford to go to a game here in Philadelphia. It's exceptionally pricey to go to a game at Madison Square Garden. There are fans there. It's such a place where there's so many people from other places that it's hard. It's not like here in Philadelphia where everybody's locked in at all times. You can walk anywhere and talk to somebody about how the Phils are starting and do you think Jalen Hurts is going to get back to his MVP. You can ask the guy on the street, just walking down the street. You can't do that in New York necessarily. So I think that's another thing of like this, the Fairweather Field. It's like, oh, I got these tickets through my work and I'm from Oklahoma because I work for Goldman Sachs. Like that's why you're here.
Yeah, it's just, as like I said earlier, as much as I like to see people have fun and I like to be among it or whatever, I did. It was like the third period of that Rangers game last night. It was a good game, very good game. And I'm watching, it's going back and forth, and I'm just like, my God, they're gonna put that basketball court over that ice tonight as soon as this game's over. And they're gonna have this atmosphere again tomorrow night. I want that. Like I miss that. I hate that. I came to the conclusion last night, Aim. I was sitting by myself watching TV. I think one of the things I missed most in sports when it's not around is playoff hockey.
Yeah, it's been hard to watch. It's funny, we've had people talk about like, oh yeah, are you guys the best game or the best 2 words? Game 7. I'm waiting for it. It's been hard to get back into it because it's just been such a dearth here, and I think that it's like last time we're watching the lottery pick results. Like that's where we're at right now.
Did you watch that last night?
I mean, I was working, so yes, I did.
Wow. How good was that? Was that cool?
No. I watched it for years with the Sixers. Now I'm like, I just found myself, now I'm watching it with the Flyers. What has gone wrong? Why am I here? But they didn't move, and the Sharks got the top pick. Blah, blah. No one cares. But it's, they've
How far up did the Sharks move, Aim?
I think they had the best percentage or second. I think they had the best percentage. So everything kind of was chalk. Yeah.
Oh, it was chalk.
So
okay.
It was pretty much. There might have been 1 or 2 moves. Like you could have been third and you got second or something like that, or fourth and third. But it doesn't matter. The Sixers. The Flyers are still picking 12th. And
I would say Amy's the only one of the 3 of us, including Ray Dunn, that could probably name someone that's going to go in the first round of the NHL draft. Now I know the number 1 over guys like Cellarini or something like that. Did I get you, Aim?
Cellarini.
Is that what the name is?
This is like when you were trying to find that Colorado player, and you were like, it's like Silva, but it's not.
Yeah, I was close. It's something like that.
It's like Tristan something or other.
Yeah, I did watch some number 23. I did legitimately watch highlights.
You did.
Yeah.
Celebrini is who you're looking for.
Celebrini. Okay, I was close.
Which always, honestly, when they first started talking about him, I thought of one thing. Do you know what the one thing was?
No.
Come on. Harry and White talking about Celebris. That's all I could think about.
Whoa, yeah.
Oh, the twins, the Celebrity twins.
Yeah. What was it? Pepperoni?
Pepperoni and Plain, the twins.
Oh,
see if they can come by. That's good stuff. Remember that.
That was absolutely awesome.
But yeah, when I hear Celebrini, that's what I think of Celebrini.
Chris in Delaware wants to talk Phillies. Chris, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
You know that old expression in baseball, it's a good problem to have, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Phillies are definitely in that position now. For years, I was looking at envy at the Atlanta Braves conveyor belt of major league ready talent year after year after year. And it seems that the Phillies have worked themselves into kind of a position like that. The difference between now and the last run, of course, the last run we won a World Series and got to another World Series, but those teams, those were the players. They didn't have anything in the pipeline. They had no minor league at then. They had to trade Cliff Lee away to get 4 prospects, right? But now we've got guys in the pipeline which is going to make for a very interesting decision going forward over the next couple of years when some of the young vets that we have, like Stott and Bohm, come up for contracts. There are guys behind them who will be big league ready by all accounts. They're top-notch, players like Aiden Miller and Starling Cobb, the shortstop, and Justin Crawford in the outfield. And, of course, you've got Painter and Abel in the minor leagues, too. It's going to be very interesting how they move forward over the next couple of years. And even this year, I mean, do we really see any need for the big league roster going forward, barring injuries?
Barring injuries, no. I think the depth on this team is a real good thing, right, Chris?
Yeah. I mean, that's why Turnbull was stuck, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sanchez solidified himself last night, and you got Nick Abel, who was projected to come up this year. Where's he going to go? He's trade bait maybe, but what do they need? So it's really going to be fascinating going forward what they're going to do. Castellanos is going to be up in a couple of years, and Schwarber's going to be up in a couple of years, and they got guys behind them. And it's like that's just the point of my call.
Chris, appreciate it. I mean, he's talking about how bright the things are now. Yeah, the future looks good, too, and we haven't even talked much about, because of injury, because of non-needing, we haven't even talked much about the Phillies farm system this year.
Well, you asked, what do you need? Like, used to be, in seasons past, there still could be another need that would arise, but it would be like, okay, at the trade deadline, you got to get this. You have to have, a back end of the rotation guy, maybe. You have to have another bullpen arm. You have to have, a power back. You needed something. You're looking right now being like, nope, we cool.
Yeah, but that's what great teams do. Even when things are going well. Yeah, exactly.
Still got to
You have to identify. There's still pop in the outfield, in my opinion, that's still lacking. Maybe they're looking at bullpen and what they can add to that. Something. I don't know, but that's what good teams do. Even when things are going well, they address what they need to address. Ray, what were your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think that was so indicative of the way I was thinking last night. Last night I saw people after Clemens hits the homer like, Clemens should be on this roster. It's like, oh, we've got Cody Clemens takes. Like, that's how good things are going right now. We're talking about, should it be Turnbull, Sanchez, or Walker that's out of the rotation, which means you have 6 guys who could be in your rotation. They have not had starting pitching depth. A year ago, we're talking about Matt Strahm making starts right now. Like, it's a whole different world. They've built starting pitching depth. They have guys in the minor leagues who are actually able to come up here and contribute for a few games at a time and give actual major league ready at bats. And oh, by the way, they have multiple guys that can play in center field. These are things that 2-3 years ago are foreign to this organization. And now it's like, oh yeah, we debated coming into the season about the starting center fielder who ended up batting 9th. We're talking about who should be the 5th starter. We're talking about guys who should be the 26th man on this roster. That's so much. That's a beautiful world to live in right now.
Well, just look at your roster. Look at your starting lineup last night. Now, when it came out yesterday afternoon, I was like, oh, what are we doing here? Like, why are we messing around with things? But what's that?
It's a heat check.
Yeah, I guess, right? So you had Schwarber leading off normal. Whit Merrifield batting second and playing left field. So, all right, something different. You got Harper at first base. You throw Castellanos up into the 4-hole because he's been swinging a better bat, and I think it's Rob Thompson saying, look, dude, this is how much I trust you. We're going to throw you up there. You got Marsh in center field, Stotts at second base. You had Edmundo at shortstop. You go Clemens at third because you're giving Bowman night off after an 18-game hitting streak gets snapped, and you got Stubbs behind the plate. So you look at it, and you're like, why are they putting a Sunday lineup out there on a Tuesday night? Why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Why not?
Why not?
Yeah, it worked out perfectly for him last night. And that just seems to be the theme of the Phillies so far right now. 26-11. And, Arthur, we're not getting cocky. We're stating what they are. Like, they're a confident, good ball club right now that just so happens to have the best record in baseball. No question. It's a long, long season at 162 games. But right now, I kind of like the framework of this team. All right, we got Amy Fadul with us until noon. We're going to check in. I'm going to give her a little homework during this break. Amy, I need a starting lineup from you for the Philadelphia 76ers come opening night next year. Now, it can be specific. It can be some generalization, something like that. But I need something from you. I'll give you mine also. Also, we're asking you, who is your most trusted Philadelphia sports figure in the city right now? We've had some good answers, but we can get a whole lot more. 610-632-0975. I'm Bob Cooney, middays, 97.5 The Fanatic. Back on this Wednesday morning around 11:30 as we take you through another sports day. Yeah, things have calmed down a little bit with the Sixers bowing out in the playoffs and all of that. But, man, it's cool to be able to jump back on a team that is the best in all of baseball right now in your fighting Philadelphia Phillies. The numbers out there are just eye-popping, and I gave you some of them earlier. They've outscored they're on an 18. They've won 18 of 21 games, okay? In those 21 games, they've outscored their opponents 130 to 63. That's just ridiculous. It's an average of 6.2 runs to 3 per game. They've had 4 shutouts during that time. 12 times they've given up 3 or less runs in 21 games. And in 15 of those 18 wins, the Phillies starting pitcher picked up the win. All very cool numbers. Aim, is this team, look, they're 26-11. They've gotten off to slow starts over the last couple of years. Rob Thompson addressed it during the offseason. Is this team over-exceeding right around where you thought they could be, or doing something that you thought maybe they could do?
Yeah, I mean, where I thought they could be, sure, I thought they could be a very good team to lead the division. Did I think they were going to be the team with the best record in all of baseball at this point in the season? No, I didn't. I didn't think that a week into the season. I didn't think that 2 weeks into the season. I thought this was a team that could be really good. That's when we've talked about this in the past. Were you okay with running it back? I was, because I thought this was a very good team last year, and they basically did run it back because you're getting the performances that you expected out of those guys, the Zach Wheelers, and then the Ranger Suarez obviously having an incredible start to the season. The sustainability is something that there is concern about, but there's a lot of confidence because there is so much going on that's going well for them. It's hard not to be confident, to think that whatever, that might come to, hinder them, whether it's a random injury or somebody goes on a little bit of a slump. There's so many other guys that have been picking up. So this is a team that I thought could be a very good one. Did I think they were going to be the best team in baseball? No. I mean, that's crazy. It's amazing.
And it is just so cool to go up and down their lineup, their pitching staff, their relievers, everybody, and see how many people are just having really good early seasons. And like I said before, really good is cool, but it's not something that we don't deem sustainable, I don't think, with any of the players.
Yeah, it's interesting. You were going through those numbers, and I had another one because they got off to another 1-0 lead right out of the gates. They have 38 first inning runs. 38. That's the best in all of baseball. Think about when people talk about, and one of the things that's been common discussed is should Kyle Schwarber lead off, and one of the reasons they're having some of these is because the man leads off with a home run, but because everybody else is hitting now. 38 to start, basically 38 and 0 in the first inning when you're looking across the board, if you want to look at it in a way like that. To lead off that kind of way, that goes into the pitchers because you're already starting with a lead. Like, this is great. I'm taking the mound now, and, you feel good. You had through your first inning, your bats picked you up. Now you're out for the second inning, and it's already 1-0 or 2-0. I think that really lends itself to these guys having the confidence going forward across the board between the pitchers, and then obviously the guys swinging the stick.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing what they're doing right now, and I love it because when you get out to hot starts usually, and, like let's take, for example, Joel Embiid scored 70 points in a game. You come away from it, you go, that was great. Not sustainable. We all know that. That's cool to watch. That's great. That's a one-game thing. Over 37 games, 26 of which are wins so far with this Phillies team. I like even better that there's not things that you are looking at, not just one thing, but numerous things that you're looking at and saying, yeah, they're not going to be able to do that, so I'm a little suspect as to what they're doing right now. I don't. I don't let little, I'll say a little run, 37 games because it is a 162 schedule, but I don't let little things that go well really influence me all that much. I have had this team now convince me that this is a really good baseball team, and that's just where they are.
Yeah, that's the thing. We're so used to waiting for something bad to happen or waiting for our expectations not to be met that this has been so uncomfortable for people to accept. Like, this is happening. We enjoy it, embrace it. Like, let's do it because, yes, at some point they will come back down to earth, but I don't think they're going to fall off the face of the earth. I think this team is here to stay. I think it is sustainable, the success. The level of it is, not sustainable, but they can lead and win the division. This is a team that is built to do that.
All right, since Amy's leaving us today at noon, which she's done,
Sorry.
more times than we like, I'll say, over the last couple of days because other constrictions of her work schedule, which we totally understand. Amy, I tease you because we love you, but I want to say this to you. I put you out there to get some homework done during that last break.
Mm-hmm.
I have made out my Sixers starting five for next year and some bench pieces along the way also.
Do you have names, or is this position?
I have names.
You have names.
I
Okay.
told you you can generalize. That's
All right.
okay. No problem with that. I went specific, so I will give you mine right now. And this is just a first glance. All right, let me throw this out there, okay? Here we go. I have Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey starting for your 76ers next year.
Perfect.
Is that a
Bold.
good start?
Bold.
Bold?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh.
My starting power forwards and small forwards are OG Anunoby and Pascal Siakam.
Oh, wow.
My
Okay.
starting point guard is Tyus Jones. In a point guard that is a really good feeder. He's not this guy that's going to excite. He is solid, rock solid point guard who can hit a mid-range jump shot. Really good shooter off the dribble. Has that, I know you're not going to like this name, I'm sorry, but cover your ears. Has that Duke background. There is smartness. I believe, wasn't he Final Four MVP or most outstanding player or something like that? Back when he won it with Jahlil Okafor or whatever, I think he was. But anyway, you don't care. But anyway, so now you have a rock solid point guard that allows Tyrese Maxey to run. That you still get Tyrese Maxey the ball, all of that stuff. So there's my starting lineup with a Kelly Oubre coming off the bench, a DeAnthony Melton coming off the bench, a Buddy Hield coming off the bench. Affordability be damned. Like there's going to be numbers that have to be worked and scrunched and all of that thing. But that's like all right, there's a what do you call that? Clay. I just grabbed a thing of clay and I threw it up against the wall, Aim, and those were some of the names that popped out.
Tyus Jones is interesting, and he was MOP of that 2015 title for Duke. That's interesting because that's where I've gone when you gave me this homework. I was going back and forth. Do I want a traditional shooting guard and move Tyrese full time to the point guard? Do I need another combo? Like, what am I doing? What am I doing on that front?
Right.
Because that's the big question. Do I move him around more? Do I have somebody that looks like him? So that was my big. I don't know. I penciled in another guard just because I'm not sure exactly what I want to do with that. And maybe that would be a conversation to have with Tyrese Maxey. How do you feel? Is there a person that a style of player that you would like to play alongside, because he was tasked with the point guard ability or the duties, and then you saw Kyle Lowry towards the end of the season take over those duties, and then he moved more of that shooting guard. Do I like him in that role? Yes. Do I like him in the point guard role? Also, yes. So a guy that came to mind for me, and this is just because of watching the Knicks and just shaking my head all the time, is why not run it back with Emmanuel quickly? Like, the Nova Knicks have their situation. We'll just make this Wildcats North and see if that works. Those guys are very tight. That's a restricted free agent contract. He's with the Raptors right now, was a former Knick.
Right. He is a name that was at the top of my list, Aim, but the restricted free agent took him off. Yes.
So that's an But OG
Great
Anunoby,
name.
I think that's who I would have. He was penciled in as my name on that one. I just didn't have a guard name because I don't know what I want to do with that just yet. I want to have another guard, and then I had OG Anunoby and I had Kelly Oubre. Those were my the 3 and the 4 for me.
Okay.
And then I did go with Joel Embiid as my center.
You did?
Yeah, I did. I decided to really go out on a limb and go with the.
You don't want to go
MVP.
free agent and see what's what,
Yeah,
or
just see what's out there. I mean, there's so many people, but there's some good talent. My bench, we talked about this guy the other day when you were giving me the numbers, and the reason I guessed it because I had looked up his numbers was Malik Monk. I think he's a player that could play alongside a lot of people, and I think he would provide a lot of spark off the bench.
went to a good school also.
Yes, I mean those guys didn't win anything. They're not MOPs like your guy Tyus Jones, but they were okay.
Yeah, not too bad at all. This is going to be a fun off season for us. We can play this game almost every day, Aim.
You could. You come up with different answers every day.
Absolutely, and who you might want to pick up and who you don't want. But it's a game that Daryl Morey has to play, and I've never seen anything like this. All of my years here.
Like this open?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's crazy.
You have two people that you know can give you solid minutes right now.
And that's
two.
it. Two.
And we're talking a whole roster. We're not talking, oh, yeah,
Of
you have.
15 players. You've got
Yeah,
two dudes.
you have
that you're
two.
like, yep, I got those two.
Yeah.
It's interesting. You and I, neither one of us mentioned Paul George.
No.
And that's
No.
That's not to say I wouldn't like it. I mean, if they make the signing and whatever else, like I'm sure Paul George would be good. But he was not my first choice when I
He
thought about
wasn't.
it.
And that's a great way of putting it. It wasn't, he's off my board. I don't have the whiteboard and put a line through Paul George. That's not where I am. I know there's other people that at this station and listeners around that don't want Paul George, and I understand that. I don't have him crossed off, but you're right, Aim, without thinking about it and doing this exercise, I didn't have him on there.
Yeah. It doesn't mean that I would rule him out. It just, my first blush was not Paul George. It was a guy that, and maybe it's the recency of watching what the Knicks did that comes to mind about who exactly they need. And I don't mean who as in the physical name, just the physical kind of presence, what kind of player they need. And the rebounding and, being able to create your shot are two things that came up for me. And so that's where I tried to find guys that could do that.
And I think you brought up a great point about that point guard, because that is something that interests me an awful lot. Somebody brought up to me a buddy like D'Angelo Russell. And I'm like, everybody's first reaction is going to be, no way, no. And then you have to look deeper into it. Does it graduate you up to that part that you said yesterday of the maybe?
Maybe?
Yeah, like one of those kind of maybes.
A positive maybe?
Yeah, maybe a positive maybe, but I don't know. There's so many different ways that this could possibly go. It is the wait, somebody told me not to say. No, I can't say funness. Somebody told me not to say smartness. It is the funness of it for us in this offseason that's going to take place. And it has to be also for Daryl Morey. I think I'd rather come in and have to bring in instead of shuffle in and shuffle out. He's got an empty canvas. It's great.
Yeah, it is good.
Should be a lot of fun for him.
Well, and the pressure will be on because talk about putting your stamp on a team. You can't have more of a stamp on this team. This is it. You're literally creating a team almost out of, air.
Yep,
blankness. You
exactly.
have two dudes that you're going to have, and then that's it.
And two very good dudes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you've got all-stars and a most improved player and the most valuable player. That's who you're starting with. That's a really good starting point.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah.
That average about 60 points a game. So that's kind of cool. I agree with you there. Okay, when we get back with Amy, I put the question out there of most trusted athlete. We have a lot of texts that we're going to get to on that. What say you? 610-632-0975. You look at the whole landscape of this sports city. Who's the person you trust the most? Somebody got to me and said, I wish you'd asked this question a few years ago because it, without a doubt, would have been Jay Wright. Great answer there, but he's no longer on the sports scene. Yeah, Amy Fadul's with us here. One more segment. I'm Bob Cooney, middays, 97.5 The Fanatic. Hey, I got to tell you about the Fanatic Deal of the Week. Pauhana Tiki Boat Tours set sail with the Fanatic Deal of the Week. This week only, get the first 6 spots for your private tiki cruise from Pauhana Tiki Boat Tours for half off. That's right, only $225. Float on the Ocean City Bay on a private 26-foot cruise. It's equipped with the thatched roofs, club quality speakers, and bar stool seating. Get the exclusive offer. Supplies last at 975thefanatic.com/deals. All right, a lot going on today as Amy Fadul is with us for a few more minutes before she has to go on to her duties with NBC Sports Philadelphia with the Phillies game today at 1 o'clock. Let me get a quick call in here, Amy, before I get to another subject with you. David in Philly, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's up, David?
Hey, good morning, guys.
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Excuse me. Jesus. I just wanted to talk about the NBA refs. Because I know you said on multiple occasions, Bob, you know, you have like relationships with refs around the league, correct?
Yes.
So, I mean, from what I see, it seems that, you know, refs are held to like this. There's this double standard in the league where, you know, referees, they can basically, you know, consistently not perform to the expectations that we expect out of them. And they're never ultimately held to any type of significant consequences. Like, I've heard, you know, there's like a grading system where, you know, they just might not referee, you know, the like certain playoff games or whatever. But ultimately, you know, we've seen what happened with our Knicks series where there was at least 2 or 3 occasions where they completely screwed us. And also with the Pacers game, game 1. But, you know, at the end of the day, the blame seems to always go to the players and the coaches by saying, oh, well, they just have to be better. And, oh, you know, it can't come down to the refs. We can't let it get to that point. And which is, if we're going to give the refs excuses, it's like, okay. But since we're all professionals here in the league, why don't the players get excuses then? Why don't the coaches get excuses?
Well, thanks, David. I appreciate the call. I think we make excuses for players. We make excuses for coaches all the time. As far as referees go, was there some, you know, mistakes made? Obviously, that game 2, they come out with a last 2-minute report. They admit their mistakes. And I'm not defending. I'm just giving facts. Like, they admit their mistakes. I wouldn't have made that call the other night in the Knicks Pacers game where they called an illegal screen with 15 seconds to go. Now, they look at the film over and over and over again, multiple people in the league office, and they came out with the last 2-minute report saying it was the correct call. Okay, you know, like, look, we can. I wouldn't have made the call.
Correct call.
Yeah, Bob Cooney wouldn't have made the call if I was a referee. I would have been deemed wrong by my superiors, and I may have been held out of a playoff game, which would probably cost me extra money also. So it behooves referees to referee the best they can, is what I'll say.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, I think that people think that, oh, well, just because I saw Scott Foster blow calls for 7 years, why is he still in the league? I mean, maybe he's blown 1 call for the 70 games. So it's exacerbated when it's your team, but there is a punishment system. If you completely mess up calls routinely every game, and you're in the 2-minute report for missing multiple calls, you will no longer be employed. Like,
right.
That's just, I think it seems exacerbated because it's like, wait, I just saw that guy and he messed up that call in our series and now he's messing up another call. Well, that's noted. I mean, technically they didn't mess up that call because I think most people would look at that if you know the rules. Like, yes, that is an illegal screen, but do you call it with 15 seconds to go in game 1 of the Eastern Conference semifinals? Most people are also going to say no. Like, what are you doing? But that's not going to come back to haunt him as far as like a bad call. So it's disappointing, but I think it is kind of it's amplified when it's your series. When you look at it and you're thinking, oh gosh, here he comes. Oh, Tony Brothers, here he is again.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
isn't it funny, Aim? And I want to know why and like why has such scrutiny come down on the refs? Is it because, and it's an honest question, and David, I'm glad you brought this subject up. Is it because maybe they aren't performing up to expectations, like David said, or is it more so because of the technology we have now in the way we look at things and all that? Or, and this is part of my feeling that the way reffing would get better, players have to stop arguing as much as they do.
Yeah, then it becomes, then you're really looking at it like, oh, that was a travel. Oh, that was a foul. Oh, that was a charge. And then you look at it again, you're like, oh, maybe it wasn't. But the player thought it was, and they felt that it was, and you see that. So there's probably the easy answer is all of those. There are mistakes that are made. You're seeing them because of the replay and because of the way you can look at everything with 17 different angles now and zoom in. And also because players are much more demonstrative when they're calling for fouls. It wasn't the case before. They look at the ref. They probably have some choice words and move on. Now you see a lot of arms flailing and like, what are you doing? That's ridiculous. And the coach is over there. But that's what you have to do. You have to do that to work the game. You mean those guys end up sometimes getting calls. So I think the Tyrese Maxey, it's frustrating because you're coming off that series where it looked like he got fouled multiple times in multiple games and it was not called. And you're wondering, we blame that on the player, but is it part of it the ref because they're not calling it the way that we felt that they should call it on him, and they called it on, say, Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, now the referees put in a couple of years ago that when a player makes a demonstrative gesture towards a referee, it's an automatic technical foul. So, like, if I think he missed a call and I raise both hands and give him the "you suck" kind of thing, that's going to be a technical. Or, the fist pump looking at a ref, that's going to be a technical. Something that's visibly noticeable, a movement by a player, that's going to be called. I have a thing in place that I want to do, and I'm going to propose this to the refs during the summer and the offseason, that you take count. Every time a player raises his hands or does anything that's not technical worthy, but he's questioning a call, I looked at the sideline, I go, that's one on Fadul, and we just mark it down. Boom, 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 boom. You don't get a second chance to raise your hand or to do anything. If you do, you get a technical foul. Because I just think there's too much hand raising and complaining in the NBA now. I really do.
Are we counting hand raises?
We are counting hand raises,
soft.
Aim. That's
Soft.
the way we are. Well, who's being soft now with the players raising their hand on every
Both.
little thing?
They're both being soft.
Everybody's soft. That's the kind of world we're living in now, Aim. A soft world. All right, listen. We are going to miss you for the rest of this show.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay.
I'll be
Can't
back
wait
tomorrow.
until you are back here tomorrow.
Yeah.
Very cool. Can't wait for that.
Yeah, tomorrow's Thursday, right? Yeah.
All day. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, very cool. Can't wait to see you again. Have a great time today with this
Thanks,
Phillies
go
game,
Phils.
and we will talk to you later. As for everybody else, stick with us. We have a lot more coming up. We have so many texts here about trusted athletes, Phillies starting lineup, some New York sports fans talk, a lot of stuff coming up. This is Middays, Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic.
news. Now, more with Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Welcome back. Noontime hour here at 97.5 The Fanatic. As we just gave you our company-wide contest with a chance to win $1,000. Ray, we did that at 10 o'clock also today. Did anything happen off of that?
Oh, yes, it did.
It did not.
John and Marlton, congratulations on your money.
Way to go, John. $1,000. John, if you want to get in touch with Ray and I, let us know in Marlton, where you might be to put that money up on the bar. We'll come over and say hi.
I would have no problem with that.
We have no problems doing that whatsoever. Company-wide contest, $1,000. Boom!
And they're getting after you a little bit. Speaking of getting to a bar, sitting up there with the drink, I saw the send Bob a beer hashtag.
Oh, there was a hashtag today.
Yeah, Kincade and Salciunas both already have tweeted a beer at you. They're trying to show off, man. They're trying to show off.
I don't need to be triggered today. I told them not to do that. I will take that up with them next time I see it. Ray, when somebody wants to do something and cannot do it, and you're doing it, you do not brag about you're doing it. I tried to explain to those two numbskulls this morning not to do it, but believe it or not, they didn't listen.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Actually, I believe that they didn't listen.
Yeah.
I can't wait. Tomorrow, the crossover. I look forward to your all-out attack on the two of them.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah. I haven't seen Connor tweet it yet.
Connor right there. There it is.
Yes? Okay, good.
Yep.
Well, there you go.
There's Connor,
Trifecta.
too. Uh-huh.
Did B-Gun do it?
Andrew drinking it. Kincade taking a... No, B-Gun's got class. Unlike those other morons. He's got some class.
You still got time to prove you wrong on this one.
Nah, I bet you. I think B-Gun is the man. Unless the other morons try to get into his head and be like, oh, you got to do it because it's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, they wouldn't know
that's what
humor
they're
if
gonna
it
do.
came up and bit him in the ass, but whatever. All right, Ray, we have some text messages.
Yes, we do.
We have some text messages from our wonderful studio audience today. Studio audience?
Studio,
How about
yeah.
listening audience? I just read the word studio
Live
on my
applause.
screen. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for being here, everybody. But what are they talking about today?
All right, so you start with the most trusted athlete, or then it became most trusted, really, sports person in Philadelphia. And you mentioned Zach Wheeler earlier, or no, you went...
I went
Zach
JT
Wheeler?
Real
yeah,
Muto.
Amy went Zach Wheeler
Amy
earlier.
went Zach, and you went Ranger Suarez. Way to call in AJ Brown.
So Ron agrees with Amy. Ron and Broomall says Zach Wheeler, but also threw another name that Phil in Nashville put out there that I think is a very underrated one, especially because I think the fan base feels like this was the one player that had the complete season this year. That's Jake Elliott.
Ooh, that's good.
You feel confident
now
when he steps into kick.
Yes, but he falls under the category even more so. So you guys brought up starting pitchers. My argument against that was those are guys that go once every 5 days. So that's why I couldn't. Do I trust them? Yes. And I also said that, look, when you have a 4-game losing streak or something, Zach Wheeler does exactly what an ace should do. He comes in, he snaps that losing streak, blah, blah, blah. I do have trouble putting my most trust into a guy that doesn't play 4 games in a row. Jake Elliott is even under that for me. Yeah, do I trust for him to come in and hit a game-winning field goal? Absolutely. Does he have to do it every game? No. So, you know what I mean? He's not around enough for me to be my most trusted. I
understand what you're saying.
Do you?
I do.
I don't think you do.
No, I do. I really,
don't think you agree with it.
I'm not going to say I don't agree because I do think it's funny. We'll get and I said, people think you had the most complete season. That's probably a really strong indication of how you felt about the season. If you're like, well, the kicker probably had the best year of anyone in this group. It was not a good season. You didn't end up having the season you wanted if you're out here complimenting the kicker for having the best season of anyone on your roster. I will say it's one of those positions that I'm thrilled that I trust it. The alternative's a lot worse. I think I can have trust. He could be one of the most trusted people for me because of the fact that if it wasn't that way, we'd be sitting here all right, well, they need competition in here. Are they going to find someone else? I like the fact that I could just, kind of pencil in, all right, I feel pretty good when he comes out there to kick. Same way I feel like when Ranger comes out there to pitch. I feel pretty solid that something good's going to happen.
Pretty solid, pretty good. Yeah, I agree with you on all that. Most trusted, I think, is a step above that.
I do think that overexposure of other people because they're more important to the team is why we kind of fall back on the kickers. Well, we fall back on the pitchers because there's less exposure to them because you're not necessarily seeing them do their job as much, and you don't get as much opportunity to be upset with the way that they perform.
Okay.
So if I had to like psychoanalyze myself on that one, I think that's probably why I like that answer more than you do.
Okay. All right. No problem there. What are some of the other ones that we have?
A lot of people upset at Arthur being upset, but that was of course going to happen. Another trusted athlete that came down, or trusted sports person in this one, Jake, a new texter. We appreciate Jake.
Hey, Jake,
texting
what's
for the
happening,
first
buddy?
time.
Appreciate you.
Howie Roseman in his recent era. So
Okay, well, I'm
Howie
talking about
2.0,
right now,
3.0.
so that's fine. I put it out there, most trusted sports figure now. So he has Howie Roseman there. I'm surprised it took this long for someone to say Howie Roseman, to be honest, Ray. I thought that would be he/owner would be right up there on some of our first answers. So I'm kind of surprised it took this long. Did he explain why he meant this
No, he
era?
just went. He
Okay.
went into Howie Rose. I mean, I think this era because everyone thinks about the post Super Bowl time and when everyone was ready to run him out of town and fire him. That was probably when he did not trust him. It's interesting. I think post draft, like we're all sitting here. The draft, I feel like the last 2 years have been the kindest thing in the world to Howie Roseman. Where we've kind of come away from it like, yeah, Howie's just the best. It's Howie season, and I think that has built back a little bit of the trust that I still think after the Hassan Reddick situation, I was a little wavering on. I trust him to do the right thing. I don't think he did the right thing in that regard. And I'm curious at how it's going to hurt this team. Like, it's a trust versus blind faith conversation. I
Right.
trust that he's got the best interest in mind. I can identify where I think he made mistakes, and I think he made a mistake with that one.
I'll tell you what, you're going to have to look at Jalix Hunt, and I think that's going to be my biggest, maybe a lot of people's biggest. Really? Really? On a third rounder?
Yeah, and it's interesting because he's done this before on the defense.
He has.
Where he does this project type pick. You know, I
Yeah.
think Davion Taylor, because I think that was also a third round pick, where it's like, here, we're gonna see something that nobody else sees. We're gonna be the ones that it's like, all right. He might have been feeling himself a little bit after being able to swoop in, get Cooper DeJean in the first week. I do think there's a little like swag Howie moment. Like he starts to feel himself a little bit at certain times. He starts to. I think that Hassan Reddick move was feeling himself a little bit. Well, I identified Hassan Reddick. Well, guess what? I'm going to identify Bryce Huff. I'm going to get the same production for a similar price, and I'm not going to pay this guy. Like I think it's a little bit of like he gets into this thing where like I'm batting 1,000.
Who was it in the draft a couple years ago? Did he take Milton Williams? Where it was one where he went over to give the guy a pound, and I'm sorry.
Yes, I know. I do remember when he went to go
and
give
the guy
fist
just
pound.
stood there and was like,
Yeah, no,
I don't know what you're doing.
I don't know what you're excited about here. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, this could be one of those picks for him where he's feeling a lot better about himself. I'm interested in the way people are starting to feel about this team. Like, I think the confidence post-draft is obviously there, but when you really, really zoom yourself out, do you feel like you're in a better position than when the offseason started?
And that's one of the subjects I'm going to bring up a little bit later. Exactly where are you on the building of this team right now? All right, we have another text on the starting lineup, I guess Sixers starting lineup that we're talking about.
Yeah. So
all right, and let's not forget this. When this is done, I want yours.
Oh man,
if you're ready, we can wait till later if you're not ready.
I've got one name in there that you guys both were. It'd be nice. I'm going after him, but I'll read Don from Blackwoods first. Maxey, Malik Monk, Sadiq Bey, Brandon Ingram, and Joel Embiid.
Maxey, Malik Monk, Sadiq Bey. Who are the other two?
Brandon Ingram and this guy named Joel Embiid.
Interesting. I'm not set on Ingram. And like I said yesterday, it kind of goes back to when he was coming out and people in the NBA were worried about him being able to hang around the NBA because of his slightness in his build, and talking about specifically people saying to me, look, we've checked with people. We don't think he's going to be able to put on weight and therefore not going to be. And he hasn't played a lot of games in the NBA. Like, he's missed a lot, I should say.
I think Brandon Ingram for people is like the swing it young. Like, I think people who are enamored with this idea of being younger and just having a young team, I think people look at, 26, and they're like, it's not 34. He's an option that's not 34 years old. He's a wing. He's put up some points. Let's go take the swing at a younger guy. Like, that's legitimately, I think, the one argument that goes for Ingram.
Yeah.
I think to me, if you want Brandon Ingram, you are just dead set on getting younger.
How did you like my starting lineup for next year? I'll give it to you again. Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey. Little shocks there, but I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to have those two starting.
Good for you.
I'm going to go out and get OG Anunoby and Pascal Siakam. And I'm going to start them with a point guard that I'm going to go out to get to solidify everything in Tyus Jones. That means that I have Buddy Hield, who I'm going to keep, DeAnthony Melton, who I have to make sure can come back from that back injury, can be 100%. I got to check on that. I think that would be a big get if we can find out that he can get healthy. And Kelly Oubre, among others, obviously coming off the bench. You can say
My
it,
gut
right? Don't
instinct
be
was
afraid.
optimistic. Very optimistic.
Too much money.
Too much money, and I think too much
Time on your hands.
No, well, yes, way too much time on my hands. Too much time, or too much thought into guys leaving situations that I don't think they will.
OG Anunoby, you don't think is leaving the Knicks?
I don't
And
think
if
you
he
get
does, it's
Siakam
gonna-
and Anunoby to move. I
Okay.
I don't necessarily think the 76ers are the team that get those two guys to move off of the teams they're on.
I go back and forth on that because so many people put so much into the team. Well, first of all, I think Joel Embiid is well-liked around the league. The scary part, now let's go other side of it, are the Sixers a trusted organization around the league? Because we can't deny the stories, and they talked about it a little bit today on the morning show. You can't deny all the stuff that is going on. 2 number 1 picks that flew away. James Harden comes in, is unhappy, and leaves. So many, the injuries to Embiid, the lack of getting out of a second round, all of those things other players in the league know about. So there's the good and the bad there. Money talks. That's first and foremost. Money talks. I think it's rare an athlete says, oh, no, I'm going to go there for $20 less million over 5 years because I think they can win. Then I'm going to go to a team that's on borderline winning for more money, whatever. I don't know. What do you think is the attractiveness of the Philadelphia 76ers to pending free agents?
I think it's an attractive spot. I mean, you give the opportunity to play alongside a Embiid and Maxey. I'm not downplaying that at all. I just look at the resources that were given up to get those guys and the fact that those two guys right now are playing each other in a playoff series, and the Sixers are at home talking about, well, should we go after, which one of these guys should we be hard after this offseason? Like, that, to me, money does talk. Money might talk for one of those two. I think if you're getting those two, you're paying the premium where it probably puts you out of the range of being able to get both of them. And I think on top of that, if I looked at where they ended up going and the way their seasons ended up, like Anunoby, if he's sitting there in New York right now, he's up 1-0 in the second round, but he's also thinking, their record's what with me? Like,
yes.
I've been a massive addition to this team. If the money's there to pay me, why am I going anywhere else? There is no thought in my mind that he opts into whatever it's $19 million for next year.
Yeah.
If I'm him, I'm opting out. I'm cashing in right away this offseason.
Yeah. And what do the Knicks do moving forward? It's going to be interesting what happens with them. But Darryl in Philly wants to talk about what he would do with the Philadelphia 76ers. Darryl, what's going on, buddy?
What's up, buddy?
You doing good?
Yeah, I like to get McKellum, if we can get him, and I like to get a big man.
Wait, who did you say? Who was the first one?
McKellum from Pelicans.
Oh, C.J. McCollum. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't understand. Okay.
And we can go get 2 sharpshooters like Peja Storakovic from overseas somewhere. We got it's players over there. Everybody got a foreign player except for Philadelphia.
All right, so your wish list would include what? 3 or 4 guys that include McCollum?
And 2 players from overseas.
Like,
play good defense and good.
You've been talking to Euro John? You got somebody that you want to throw in there?
No, I don't know too many of their names, but it's a lot of them over there.
I have on the
Everybody
board
got-
here that you said Miles Bridges.
Yeah, I did say Miles Bridges.
Okay.
I'll take him over Mikal Bridges. You remember 2 years ago, Anthony Edwards said, me and Miles Bridges going to become the best 2 players in the NBA because he got a little domestic case Everybody stop looking at him. He can play basketball, and he go get the ball too.
He can play ball. There's no doubt about that. Thanks, Dow. Appreciate it. I wouldn't take him over Mikal Bridges.
I wouldn't. I don't want him on this team. I don't want him anywhere around
there
this
is a lot of
organization.
that stuff that you
Not
have
in
to
the
watch
world.
out for. Yeah, and I'm going to bring up a line from our days past. I am that guy, Ray. I am that guy that will look at a situation and say, no, I don't want to deal with that, right or wrong. If I'm an executive of the team, that is my choice, and I can make that decision. Look, do I believe everybody deserves second chances? Absolutely, I understand that. But I also will make a decision that I deem proper for my organization. And I understand where you're coming from, and that is a serious thing there.
Yeah, the serious is the key word. He said little. There was nothing little about that.
Right.
He's there. There's no world in which I'm going after Miles Bridges.
I was going to look up, I wanted to look up real quick here, the Lehigh University alum who played with a kid from my old high school at Lehigh, and that is C.J. McCollum, and see what his contract status is. So let me look here. He signed a 2-year, $64 million deal. C.J. McCollum is under contract 24-25 for 33.3, and then in 25, he's 33 years old already.
Yeah, it's been a minute since that upset. Weird commercial during March Madness with Coach K with the highlights of Lehigh. I thought that was a strange commercial.
And the kid who played at the high school where I went to is in the background of that.
Oh, nice.
Ernie Durazio. Yeah, Anthony Durazio. In the background of that. I never understood that commercial.
No, it didn't make
And I
any
don't
sense.
pay attention much to commercials. But when I saw Krzyzewski talking, it's for the Army and all that stuff, and that's great, and something that he firmly believes in and grew up with. But yeah, I didn't get it.
No,
I didn't get
that commercial. Didn't make sense. And I'll be honest, I'm grateful that it's Daryl Morey running the Sixers and not Daryl from Philly. I'm not on board with that entire call. Of an
Yeah, there wasn't much there that you could sink your hands into. No.
And yes, guys in Europe can shoot. Do you think that if they had the opportunity to play in the biggest league, that they would probably be in the biggest league?
Yeah, I mean, GMs aren't looking at them going, no, I don't feel like going over to Europe to scout them.
You know
or
who can
anything,
shoot?
or-
George Niang. You know who can't be played in the postseason? George Niang. There's guys that are just not fast enough and just don't have the ability to play at this level.
Dude, I'm not being mean. I think he put on 4 pounds in the middle of a game the other day. Like George, what was he here? The minivan?
The minivan.
He's up to a full school bus. I'm sorry. Dude looks like he just keeps getting bigger. And God bless him, man. He gets you points when you need him, and he can go on those runs or whatever. But I'll tell you, he jumped over. He was getting into some, against Orlando, some elbow throwing and a little, throwing some shoulders here and there. And one time he knocked a guy down. I think it was Suggs, and he jumped over him. And like, you saw bouncing going on, and it wasn't the basketball. It was kind of the middle of George's tummy there. God bless him. Great guy. I don't know if you were here yet when we had him on.
Yeah, I was here.
Oh, were
I was
you?
here for that first Friday. Yeah, because he had the
super dude.
wonderful conversation about Simmons.
Oh, that's right.
Yes,
That's right. Yeah,
Simmons,
yeah.
That one caught wind much beyond the circles of Philadelphia. People were very intrigued at what Niang had to say on.
And he
Simmons.
just said it to say, like, look, it's just the truth. I'm just telling you what went on.
Right.
We were like, what the hell are you doing here? Like that's how they were. Like, what are you doing here practicing? You're not playing with us. So, all right, we have a whole lot more coming up for you. We have some more texts that are here. Maybe you have a starting lineup that you want to see next year for the Philadelphia 76ers. The Phillies playing the best baseball that they've played in a long time and the best in all of baseball right now. Also, with the Eagles, we'll get to this a little bit. Kenny Gainwell came out on a podcast yesterday and said a couple of things that a lot of people had big reaction to. I took it as okay, no kidding. But maybe you have more reaction to that. We have all that and a whole lot more. Middays, Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic. Welcome back. Middays, 12:30 here at 97.5 The Fanatic. A lot going on as we were looking at a lot of different things. Obviously, your Phillies and their 26-11 record. Lots of fun there. We threw out some starting lineups for your 76ers next year. Had some calls on that, some texts on it also. We still have a text on a lineup for the 76ers, Ray? Or did
On
we
your
use
lineup.
On my, okay.
So, kind of going along the lines of the thought process of would Anunoby and Siakam leave their situations to come to Philadelphia? The texter from New Jersey asking why would OG leave when they are building in New York, or Siakam come play for a coach he feuded with in Toronto with a player whose face he recklessly with an elbow.
Yeah, but they are friends. Like, that's weird. They are friends. I hear you. Yeah, well, good questions. I just threw out, like I said, it was like grabbing clay and throwing it up against the wall and see what names would spurt out. That's like a wish list there. I would deem mine as nothing more than a wish list.
Yes, I like your list. I like the lineup you put together. I just think the way this offseason shakes out, I don't think you end up with both of those. Because I have a hard time believing those two guys are going to be, leave their spot. I guess people probably went into the offseason after the 76ers lost to the Raptors and thought, well, how could Jimmy Butler end up somewhere else? So, there's always the chance that someone else goes somewhere new, that the way things end and, what they like, what they didn't like, who's to say Anunoby doesn't think playing for Thibodeau is a grind? Who's to say that Siakam, it's like, all right, Indiana, this was nice for a couple months, but I got my eyes set on somewhere else,
You never know.
You never know.
Like,
so I
you
guess
never know.
That's part of it, where you never know.
And so I tried to go outside of I wouldn't consider either one of those two the superstar. Would you, Ray? Like, they're not Paul George, LeBron James. They're a notch below that, right? Like, that's kind of what I was looking at. I almost did that with the thought of this on a theme yesterday of fit, instead of just getting the best players, throwing them in here and making it fit. I was like, all right,
very nice of you to think of the fit.
Let's get a power forward. Let's get a small forward. It goes along with Joel Embiid. It goes with Tyrese Maxey. And then let me go fit in a point guard here in Tyus Jones okay, maybe he could run the show, and you see that. Like, it's more of an idea, more of a, like I said, throwing things against the wall. What do you think? All right, I'm putting this out there to everybody. We'll make this the 12:30 question, and maybe it'll last us for the rest of the show. What do you think, besides Tyrese Maxey? We know that he's going to sign his 5-year, $205 contract. What do you think is the first move Daryl Morey makes this offseason? We're taking out Tyrese Maxey. We all believe that that's going to be it. You have Joel Embiid. You have Tyrese Maxey. What do you think is the first move that is going to be made? Now, you have the draft coming up. That's not a move. That's something you have to do. I'm talking about some signing, something that makes you say, oh, okay, interesting. Is it a trade? You can be specific if you want. I'm not that guy that much that'll be like, the Sixers should package this to go to that. I love people that do it. They're thinking, I'm not smart enough to do it. I'll just be honest. I'm not. I'm not smart enough to match up all the money and contracts and this and that. And I know there's a website you can go on and try to match everything and do. Yeah.
It's time. It's time to bring it back. It's off-season time.
Now, are you big on that?
I'll trade machine it up. Yeah. Like last year, I remember when we were doing middays, it was Andrew and Jamie, and Tobias made the crumble cookie conversation.
Yes.
And that was a big trade machine day for me. It's like, you know what? Tobias wants to start talking about being traded. I'm going to go plug him into the trade machine. I'm going to go see what we could do and try and make a trade to see what happens here. I'm a big off-season trade machine guy. I enjoy it. I haven't gotten there yet. I think in my process of mourning the end of this Sixers season, I think I'm not yet at the let's plug everybody. And there's not really, when it comes to the trade machine, not a lot that I'm going to be able to plug into that trade machine.
No, because you have nothing. So there's nothing there to really plug in. But what do you say? 610-632-0975. Love to hear from you of what you would do. What do you think, not you would do, what do you think Daryl Morey's first move is going to be this offseason? Now, it could be something that you want, or it could be something. There's two ways always to look at sports, and I'd say this to people all the time. I can talk about the Sixers, Flyers, Eagles, Phillies, and say what I think they're going to do. Then I can also talk about Sixers, Flyers, Eagles, and Phillies about what I think they're going to do. There's two ways of looking at it. You can give us either one. What do you think Daryl Morey's first move is going to be this offseason? Or what do you want Daryl Morey's first move to be this offseason? Ray, we got some texts?
Yeah, a couple of texts here. So we'll start with Kyle from Vault Brewing, who wants to check in with the lineup of Tyus Jones, Tyrese Maxey, Herb Jones, Paul George, and Joel Embiid.
Paul George, the big name there. So there's somebody that wants to go after the big. Who was the other guy? Herb Jones?
Yes.
Yeah. That's interesting. That's very interesting.
It's time to plunge for Paul here.
What's that?
I said it's time to plunge for Paul here. We need to go in on getting Paul George.
Oh,
I think
you're
I've
of
talked
that group?
myself. I think I've talked myself into it fully.
Since when?
Since we started having the conversation about a week ago, and then I started slowly walking my way into. I think it was the day that you presented the stats. You were like, "Would you like this? Would you like that? Would you like this?" Off the air before one of our shows.
Okay.
And we were talking about, wouldn't you want a player like that? And I was like, you know what? And it's again Paul George in the vacuum versus Paul George as like, hey, they've got Maxey and Embiid. You're asking Paul George to come in here, and in name, he's your second guy to Embiid, but really you're asking him to just be a wing that can fill it up. And when they need a lift offensively, he's going to be able to give it to you in a way that you haven't had on the wing before. Like, I'm not looking for him to be the superstar one guy on this team. I'm looking for him to come in here at 34, almost 35, and okay, you can play within these couple of guys, and you need to go win a championship. You need that crowning achievement of your career. You've already had to play alongside other superstars. You've seen how it works, how it doesn't work on a super team. I'm not going to go with the super team phrasing here, but, when you're talking about having three stars together, it inevitably gets to that conversation.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Come in here, be the guy on the perimeter. Oh, you want to cheat over and try and stop be the mid-range? Let me just dump it out to Paul George. Let Paul George go to work. I'm intrigued.
I'm surprised that you went all in on something that quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was Monday when we started doing that. Now, we did it on the show on Monday, and
right,
I think
it was end of last week that we started talking about off the air.
Oh, it was? Okay. All right. Herbert Jones, under contract until not just next year, the year after, at about $13-14 million a year. Alabama guy. That's more of a piece, which might be good.
Right, well, and that's part of the sacrifice if I'm going for George.
Yes,
more likely,
exactly.
It's going to be a piece, and I'm going to want someone. If I have George out there, is a wing like Oubre also in my starting lineup because I want that length defensively. I want someone because I don't necessarily think the intensity from George is. And again, that's over a regular season. When you get to the postseason, what's that intensity going to ramp up to be? But probably I'm starting to think pieces alongside that because I'm going to get one of the best available players.
Okay. All right. I kind of like your I'm not going to say I agree with your like it. I like that you've come to a conclusion.
I also think that
already
I don't think they're going to say star hunting because I think that they probably have a bit of sense of self-awareness on that one. But I think the star hunting idea is prevalent. Just listen to Morey the other day. It does not sound like this is going to be, let's spend money because we have money. So I think they're going to try and plunge into investing pretty big.
Well, they have to, kind of. They kind of have to. You have to get up to a certain amount of money. You need players on this team. And I would assume a third star is something you're actively going after. Look, Kyle Oubre, third star. Yeah, I don't know.
Who?
In my scenario, what did I say? Kelly Oubre. 1238, mark it down.
I got it. Don't worry.
Yeah, I know you do. I don't know. I'm just done talking here, so I'm going to let Don talk. Don in Philly, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's going on, Don?
Yeah, well, we can't get Curry back, Steph Curry, Paul George. That'll be nice. Or even go get Bronny. We know we're going to win if we get his dad.
So you're going Seth Curry and Paul George.
Yep.
All right, Seth Curry, he had some good times here, didn't he, Don?
Yes, he did.
I can't say I'm totally against that. Now, let me see what his contract is. Seth Curry, 2 at 8. Oh, my God, he's like nothing. He's got a $4 million guaranteed contract. through 24-25. So that's next year, $4 million. The price is right, isn't it, Don?
Yep, super. We can get him back. We got another shooter.
So you're in on Paul George.
Yeah, I think the owner don't know how to pick because he said Hill was like the best thing out there. Hill is garbage.
Buddy Hield is garbage. He thought he would. He thought he got what the best had to offer at the trade deadline. Said Daryl Morey. You weren't on with Buddy Hield when they got him, or was this after you saw what he was?
No, I ain't never been on him. He trash truck juice. I smelled him a mile away, like a trash truck going down the street.
Don, thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Well, he talks about Seth Curry being a shooter. Well, his brother Steph has the most three-pointers since Buddy Hield got in the league. Buddy Hield has the second most. Don't know if I can call him trash juice. And if you're looking for a shooter in your next sentence saying Seth Curry, isn't that what Buddy Hield is?
Yeah, I mean, that's it's quite a leap to be anti-Buddy Hield but be pro-Seth Curry.
Right? I thought I was missing something there. I don't know.
I'm not sitting here as the biggest Buddy Hield guy in the world. You had good times with Seth Curry. Seth Curry, you want to talk about guys who got to 33 pretty quick. He's 33. I know 'cause he's the brother of Steph. Might look at him as, oh, yeah, he's not that old. He's 33.
Yep.
And he was hurt for a considerable amount of this season. It's not like this guy was lining him up. To this season.
$4 million a year tells you a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, and this year he averaged 5 points with 35% shooting from three. I like the idea of Seth. And again, you have to project them into a lineup with Embiid. Do I think you could get a better version of Curry alongside Embiid? Of course.
I kind of like the way he played when he was with Embiid here.
Yeah.
They did a lot of nice pick and roll thing. Now he doesn't play like a defense.
No. And that's also comes back to he's also 6'1".
Yeah, 6'1", and like you said, there's a reason. 33, 6'1". He's been on how many teams? 5, 6 maybe. The fact that he signed a 2-year, $8 million total contract, I don't know. That kind of tells you I think his worth in the league, but maybe you can get something.
I will always love the idea of the reunion with some of these guys. But with Seth Curry, if you're giving me a call where you're going pro Seth Curry and you're going anti-Buddy Hield, I got questions for you.
Yeah.
I got questions for you on that one.
All right,
I don't necessarily love that one.
I'm going to have questions for you, and I don't know if you know this or not, but I'm going to put some stuff out there. We might do it at the top of the hour. We might start dipping into it in this next segment. And it's going to be, okay, let's ride these coattails. The Phillies are 26-11. There's a lot of fun going on there. We talked about the season so far that players are having. I might put out to you a little expectations of players, numbers on players for the end of the year, whether they will reach them, whether you take the over or under or not. Ray Dunn. And to you guys also. We have a lot on the board. Whatever you want to talk about, 610-632-0975. You're always welcome to call here. You can text on that same number, whatever you want to do. This is Middays. Bob Cooney, 97.5, The Fanatic. Welcome back, 1247 here at 97.5 The Fanatic. A lot of things going on today. It's a mixed match of bunch of topics that we were throwing out there. I found out for the first time in the last segment that Ray is all in for Paul George. I went into his studio during the break. He didn't know that I walked in, and he was on the phone ordering a Paul George Sixers jersey. So that's how much he is going in right now on that. But we threw out there some. Go ahead, Ray.
No, you missed my phone call. After that phone call, I was calling to see if we could clear out any of those nice homes on the main line. Maybe if we could get a nice spot for him to live, to build his life out here. I'm trying to make sure that all works out. If he's got any kids, Malvern Prep, maybe,
I got a guy that sells out there.
Oh, all right. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. We'll get him in touch.
Yeah.
My people will reach out to your people who reach out to his people.
Okay. And I think my guy already knows Paul George.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, they have a little bit of a relationship. So you're going that far in, and you're checking the local schools to see if he's been to scout them out.
Yeah, obviously. I think the day that we see him at Wawa ordering on the screen, I'll feel pretty good.
Okay. All right. There's so many things, so many different ways that people want to go. I put the question out there. What do you think Daryl Morey's first move would be this offseason? Or what would your first move be during this offseason? Joe in Cherry Hill, he wants to let us know. Joe, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Yeah, hey, Bob. I'm going to try to make Daryl Morey's job much easier here.
All right. It's up to you, Joe. Get it done.
Okay. I'm not going to go for the big three, which is LeBron and
Paul George
and who is the and Jimmy Butler. I'm not going to go for that.
Okay.
I'm going to go for a free agent on Siakam. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I have no problem with that.
If I can't get Siakam, I'm trading with New Orleans, who's got to do something and break up some of their bigger players. I'm going to go after Ingram. Okay.
Who are you trading?
I'm trading the coveted 28 non-restricted pick to get him.
Go ahead, Ray.
It's the Clippers pick, the 2028 Clippers pick,
right.
Not protected.
I'm sorry. I thought you were going to talk, Ray.
Yeah, that's supposed to be
And what player?
Okay. Do I need to match up salary on that, or?
I believe so. The CBA's changed so much. Salary's got to be matched in some way.
All right. Well, my goal is to get Siakam or Ingram in here to replace Tobias.
Okay.
Because I think that's an upgrade. Okay.
I don't disagree with you there.
Okay. Then, free agent-wise, there's three guys I want to. I'm trying to balance out the lineup here, not have a player in here that I just got to invest everything in. I'd like to get Malik Monk in here.
That is one that we mentioned yesterday, and Amy Fadul is on board with that, along with you, Joe. Go ahead.
Okay. I like Lonnie Walker.
Lonnie Walker the fourth. Interesting. I don't know his contract situation. I'll look that up when I get a chance.
Okay. And finally, we need a backup center. We couldn't get him at the trade deadline. And
you're not getting Drummond.
Who am I thinking of?
You're not getting Drummond.
We're not? Why?
No. I think there's too much money out there to be had. I think. Is he under contract, Ray?
No, he's done after this year.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. And thanks so much, Joe. Thanks for the call. I still think he's going to look for starter money elsewhere.
You think?
I do. It was funny talking to, was it before this season or so? Oh, after he played with them last season, executives around the league were like, yeah, he's using the Sixers for a year to go get starter money somewhere else. It didn't really pan out, but there's interesting. I don't know. That's interesting. I've been hearing that they're not going to get him. I'll have to look more into that. Are you big on that they can get Drummond, that they will go after him?
I mean, I'd be interested in going after him.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, if there was interest in the deadline to go after him, I would be interested in going after him again. I mean, I still curse that Bulls organization for their desire to be 41-41. That's it.
I must have read somewhere, and it stuck in my mind, that there was some reason that the Sixers wouldn't get him. I'm going to look it up during the break and find out. I could be wrong on that one.
Clarification point, too, about the trading, the salary cap. Tyron just came in. You can absorb that salary if you have the open cap. It's only if you're over
you have
the cap
the open cap.
Match.
Okay, right. Okay. There's so many different things out there to be done. And you can agree, disagree with a lot of them, but it's an empty canvas. I keep saying it, and it's so much fun for us. And I wonder how much fun it is for Daryl Morey on this offseason. Stick in Clearwater. You're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's up, Stick?
Hey, Bob and Ray. How y'all doing, man?
Great, buddy. How about you?
Good. It was great to meet you last fall when I was down there at Coco's in Clearwater.
Yeah, that was
with
awesome.
That Eagle. Yeah, that was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was cool.
Hey, guys. I want to just say no to Paul George, and I'll give you a couple reasons, okay?
Okay.
One, look, he's, to me, Tobias Harris 2.0 at the beginning of Tobias's contract with his numbers, and he'll be Tobias 2.0 at the end of Tobias's contract. Same thing. Look, I'm with you, Bob. Let's go get Siakam and the stud small forward from the Knicks, Abdenabi. And here's my wish. I want Braxton as our backup / playing a lot center when Embiid goes down.
Claxton, is that who you said? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. That's all right.
From the net. Yeah. Now, I don't care who runs the point after that. But Jones will be a good, pickup. Monk, if he runs the point or if he's a shooting guard, we're going to fill in pieces. But look, you don't need a point guard today. Maxey, let me look at Denver. They won a championship with Joker and all those guys bringing the ball up the court just like we did when Embiid was healthy. But I love to pick up Claxton from the Nets, and I definitely want those two kids, two youngsters from Toronto that Nurse has already had.
All right, Stick, I like it. I mean, there's some things that you have to like about something everybody throws together. So Stick is big on Claxton. You got to get that backup center. There's no question about it. That's one of the biggest needs you have. I shouldn't say that. It's not one of the biggest needs that Daryl Morey said he had because he said, look, I'm not looking – one of my first priorities is not to build this team when Joel Embiid is not on the floor. That can't be a top priority. I understand what he was saying. That's 13 to 15 minutes a game in a close game that Joel Embiid isn't going to be on the floor. Is that one of your priorities, to find a 13 to 15-minute guy? No, that was accentuated during the playoffs, I thought, because, every possession matters here. What do you got? I can see your –
I don't know. It's not like, oh, do I want to bring in a star or do I want to bring up a backup center? You need both.
Sure.
I don't want to downplay the need of it.
No, I don't think you can either. I understand by him saying, though, like it's not a top priority. I think building out a starting five and how you're going to manage that is of most importance.
It is, but I think when we also get into the conversation about Paul Reed's contract and, Paul Reed's future here, you do have to plan for the idea of Embiid playing 60 games.
Sure, that's true.
I won't plan on him being available for 75, for 65. 60 is probably, the target where I think he's going to be. And you have to be able to be competitive, one, in those games that is a play, and two, competitive in the non-Embiid minutes. And I think that's a big piece of, one, if they had just been a few seeds better, you're not playing New York in the first round. Do you have a chance to get this team to really play together? And I don't know. It's one of the big what-ifs that I don't want to walk down the path of. But I think when you talk about seeding and also when you get into the postseason and how much those couple minutes matter, I think it's a bigger need than what I think Morey put out there earlier in the week.
It is for those games, but I'll say this. If you're building the roster with all the money you have and all that, your second unit then could consist of a Pascal Siakam along with a Tyrese Maxey and others. He could be looking at it that way as opposed to just saying, here's the backup center. So, there's different ways.
If you have a more assertive, third scorer that plays in that, plays in that second unit, plays with that second unit. We've seen Tobias Harris play with that second unit. If you have a more assertive scorer on that second unit, then maybe it doesn't matter as much because you actually have an offense that flows without him on the floor, which they did not.
That is correct. All that good stuff by you, Ray, there. Appreciate all that. 12 o'clock hour, it's brought to you by Service First Heating and Air Conditioning. Get 0% financing for 72 months and a $500 rebate when you purchase a complete heating and cooling system from Service First. Learn more at servicefirsthvac.com. All right, we got some great conversation going on here. We got a lot of texts, a lot of people on the line. We'll get to you when we get back. Also, a little bit later, once we get through all this, I want to put out some numbers to Ray when it concerns the Philadelphia Phillies. This is Middays. Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic. welcome back. Middays on this Wednesday afternoon. Hope you're having a good week. Hope everything's going okay wherever you may be on this hump day. A lot of talk going around the board today. We were all over the Phillies. Lately, we've been talking about the Sixers. What might be your lineup moving forward? What might you think Daryl Morey is going to be his first move during this offseason? What would be your first move during this offseason? A lot of answers to a lot of questions coming up. I want to tell you that the 1 o'clock hour is brought to you by Ferguson HVAC Lyon Conklin. Attention HVAC contractors for equipment, parts, and supplies for every heating and cooling job. Visit one of Ferguson's counter locations in Bensalem, King of Prussia, Pennsauken, or Westchester. A lot of talk about Sixers off season, and Chris in Pennsauken wants to talk about it. Chris, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
How you doing, Bobby?
Doing good. How you doing, buddy?
Good, man. Just having too much fun.
Yeah? Can you you share some of it with the rest of us?
Sure.
You sure?
My feet hit the floor. My kid's graduating next week from the famous high school that all our kids went to. Your older son knows my older daughter, like I told you before. You met Sophia. And things are good, man. I'm healthy. Fishing. I'm drinking green bottles, smoking stogies. It's a good thing, man. Just be happy for what you got.
You got a good life.
You know what I mean? And, everybody has to do their laundry. You know what I own, so it's all good.
That's right.
I got to tell you, I want to do something sleepy. Well, I don't know about sleepy, but I think I'm going to take it as sleepy to make myself feel like a general manager. I'm going to correct my mistake, and he's the only player up there, and he's going to be 28 in August. I'm going back. I'm getting my 16th pick, and I'm bringing Bridges back home.
Mikal Bridges, you want to bring back home now? I got to go,
Bob. It's me, and you, and their producer playing for them. They're going to suck for the next 5 years.
Okay, what do you have to give up to get them?
That's what I'm asking you. That I consider you the guru, even though you don't like being called all these great names. You're the guru when it comes to stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
It's funny. Tyrone had to come in and yell to our producer Ray about what you can get and give up as far as salaries. As long as you're under the cap, you can take on a salary. It would cost you probably, Ray. Well, you and I talked about this on the break. What's that?
Would it cost you 16th pick?
At least, and then like 4 other ones after that.
Really?
Yeah. Right, Ray, did you read into this, or did you?
So it was something that came out, I think it was trade deadline time, when they were talking about, well, will they move Mikal Bridges? And they were asking for an exorbitant amount of first-round picks for him. I think 5 was the number that was brought up at some point because they want to build around him, and I think that they've decided that's what they want to do. I don't think 16th pick is going to get you him. I think they're going to want a lot more.
Yeah.
No, I'm willing to meet in the middle. I just didn't know that plus. But 5 of them, guess what? My house is worth $400. I would love $550, but I'm not getting it. So you got to make that call. And here's my little sleeper too, Tyus Jones. I always liked him, and I don't know why he's a free agent because he'd be a good little fit with the Sixers. He's a good all-around ball player. He's not going to cost you a life. I always liked Tyus Jones, but I'm all in on Monk. And worst case scenario, bring PG-13 here, man. I don't want Jimmy Butler. And I don't want LeBron James, man. At least PG-13 doesn't bring all that annex. I think will fit in. And he can shoot. I want wings. Not on wing night on Thursday. I want wings on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Love you, boys.
All right, thanks a lot, Chris.
I'm going to go smoke a stogie and drink a green bottle.
All right, buddy. I appreciate it. Good luck with all of that. Chris said something there that I wanted to react to, but he's got my head. I don't think, for all the talk of Mikal Bridges, I really don't think that the New Jersey or the Brooklyn Nets are going to be giving up on him anytime soon. And, yes, that is a lot to ask for. Daryl Morey's in this weird position. We've talked about it. I'm of the ilk of, look, you only have Joel Embiid for 5 more years or whatever, 4 more years, maybe more, maybe less. I think you got to go all in to try to win a championship. I don't so much care about, well, you got to build to the future at the same time. I hear it. That's ideal. I just don't think it's realistic. I would go all in this summer and try to get a team that I think can win a championship in the next 3 years, maybe more than one. And that's all I'm concerned about if I'm Daryl Morey. Yeah, and yes. I think you and I went at this yesterday. We went real roundabout but we came and landed at the same position. I don't think I explained myself perfectly well,
No,
but I think
you
you're
were
right
talking
there,
about
right?
the road. Yeah, we're right. We're right in the same spot when it comes to this. And multiple championships. I'll talk about multiple championships when there's a ring,
When
one
there's
ring
one.
on the finger at this point. Like I can't start having thoughts. We could have thought about that 5 years, like the continuity conversation. I think it was a caller yesterday that said it with the continuity conversation of like, yeah, that was great. That was a great idea. That was a lot of fun thought to have when Embiid was 25.
Yes, exactly.
5 years ago,
If he'd have said it 5 years ago, I'm not going to be I said this, but I remember I couldn't have been writing it because I was here. But saying it, like I love stability. I love stability in coaches. I love stability in rosters. I brought up on the morning show years ago the myriad of names that they have tried to bring in to surround Joel Embiid with, and it's just never worked because in a lot of cases it was a 1 year try and that was it. I would like to see the stability, but I don't think right now is the time to get it.
No. His longest running co-star is Tobias Harris. And co-star being not the word star, but person alongside of him. His longest running partner.
Yeah. Partner's good.
Partner, longest running teammate. Like,
well, teammate, yeah.
The consistency he had in his time here was Tobias Harris and Furkan Korkmaz.
Yeah.
Yep. That's your stability. That was your stability. Those were the two names that you could pretty much take it to the bank. They were going to be here. That's a problem. So now the idea, and I think this goes into the Ingram, like when people are bringing up Ingram and people, Bridges, I think there's a lot of thought process in this fan base right now of let's build this thing up and build something that's going to be competing for the next 5 or 6 years. I'll be honest with you.
I don't think you're there.
2029 is a fake year to me right now. It's not
exactly.
Real.
Nothing's guaranteed, right?
Right. I'm very much in on, okay, the best player to put you in a position to maximize next year. And I know Embiid wants stability. You don't get stability when you have this many guys coming up for contracts. You don't get stability when you're a 30-year-old that has been, beaten up. And, again, I think he's going to have the ability to extend his career just because, it's not a game that's so athletically driven in the sense of, like, jumping up high and, battling down. Like, there's probably going to come a time where, hey, yeah, he could stretch it out as a 540, and he's going to give you valuable minutes, and he can extend his career that way. But I have 3 years of peak Embiid left, hopefully.
I'd go there, yeah. About that.
Okay. I'm investing
Go for it, right?
Yeah, I'm investing that right now. I'm not investing with the, ooh. We got people I think people are spooked right now. Very spooked at the idea of
understandably so. Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't use it as spook. I would use it until they give me a reason to be upset.
Okay.
I'm going to be excited about this offseason.
All right, I'll give you that. Jay in Mount Airy, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's going on, Jay?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
How you doing?
Yeah, good, man. Listen, I know, and I was telling your producer, it's not going to be a popular thing right now, but if you look around the league, there is no value shooting centers around. They're non-existent. Out of the 30 teams in the NBA, you got Embiid and you got Jokic. If you watch the way Jokic plays, he's not a volume shooter. He picks spots and he gets everybody involved. You can't run the offense through a volume shooting center anymore in 2024. You see how we got beat. We got beat with two backup centers and a bunch of wings. And what we need to be doing is trying to get guys in here, not stars, not 35-year-old stars. Everything that's left in the playoffs right now is under 26 years old, the faces of those teams. So we got a decision to make. We got to let Joel know, hey, listen, this is Maxi's team. You'll be the off guy. If he can't handle that, then we got to move on. But, because we're big star people, we're not going to let him go. But I think that the league right now is shifted. It's different now.
So, Jay, let me ask you this real quick, not to cut you off, but let me ask you this before we have to. Are you saying you can't win with Joel Embiid as your number one star?
No, not in 24.
Okay.
Not in 2024 and beyond, no.
So you are saying that. You cannot win with him?
Cannot win with him as the number one option. If he can play off of those other guys, because believe it or not, Joel slows the game down. When those guys on a fast break and things break down, Joel is coming up the court, and then he holds the ball for about somewhere between 9 to 11 seconds. And, a lot of times he may be shooting twos while the other teams are shooting threes. So if you do the math, if they're shooting threes, we're shooting twos, you're going to lose that game.
It's interesting. Jay, thanks so much for the call. Appreciate that. I don't know. I still think you can win a championship with right people around him going through Joel Embiid. I just do. Look, his comparison to the New York Knicks team, are the Knicks more of an anomaly, or are they more becoming what the NBA is about, in that you seem to have an uprising guy that's going to be one of the top of the league in Jalen Brunson as a point guard, and then you have a bunch of situational players around him, a bunch of role players, for lack of a better term, around him. Because who would be your number 2 star on the Knicks in this playoff run? Probably Josh Hart.
Well, Anunoby for me, probably.
I guess, but there's been games like Anunoby's going to be the 15.8 rebound probably almost every night. Out of Josh Hart at nights, you're getting close to triple doubles. You're getting 48 minutes. You're getting at times 25, 27, 28 points. Oh, anyway, we're doing that is what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. And it was a question I think you brought up before the season, before the series started.
Before basketball started.
Before basketball ever started.
Before
you said Dr. James Naismith, this Knicks team.
Jimmy, I called him Jimmy.
Back in the day. When you were shooting into the peach basket, you were like, you know what? That Knicks team in 2024, is it a better team, all capital letters, team, than the 76ers? And just the fact of the way they play together. And it was a question then. I think we saw the answer of it by the end of the series. But am I going to sit here and say, all right, I have an ascending star in Tyrese Maxey. I've got still the reigning MVP of this league and one of the 5 best players in the NBA. Instead of having those two, I want to see a world where it's the ascending star and then a team around. Like, to me, less talent does not equal better results. Like, taking Joel Embiid out of the equation does not make this team better. Minimizing Joel Embiid's impact on the game does not make this team better. I look at this group, we talk about wings, and I think part of the reason why I'm walking myself into the Paul George world is, okay, if that $40 million you had invested into building this roster was invested into a wing that did not disappear time and time again, where exactly are you right now? If you had a guy that, again, I didn't need him to drop 30 in Game 6. If he had 10, that's a different game. You know? If he could just play a little bit.
Right.
I think that's where I keep coming to. Yes, you have firepower. 2 guys that light it up in terms of scoring. Do we really need more scoring? Well, at the end of the day, I need offense that works without Embiid on the floor, and I need someone that when Embiid's on the floor, offensively, it's not the entire burden for him to carry. We can look at it as you can't run it through him. I look at it as it's run through him because you haven't had enough surrounding him to go out there and give you a bucket when you need a bucket if it's not him trying to fight around and make something happen offensively.
See, here's where, you know how when Amy's in here, she'll sink her head into her shoulders when she's like, oh, I don't know, I can't think that way. This is how I get when you compare anybody to the New York Knicks. Let's not forget this. This Knicks team could be an anomaly, and then they're going through the game through their point guard as their scorer, their facilitator, they're all everything. They had a 25-point-a-game scorer that got hurt mid-season, early season, that they lost in January. And they're making this run down. Now, I heard somebody say to me, and I'd love to give proper credit, but I don't know if he wants me to say that he heard this. You don't become a better team by losing a 25-point-a-night scorer. You might become a better team by losing that guy, if you know what I'm saying. This Knicks team is kind of an anomaly, are they not? In that this wasn't the team they planned, but now they are there because Julius Randle got hurt. Are they going to become the Detroit Pistons of years past where they're going to win a championship with no real stars on the team? I don't know. Anyway, my point being, I don't think you can compare a Sixers team to say, you know what, but they should be more like the Knicks.
Do you want to even compare them to the Knicks?
Well, if the Knicks come out as the Eastern Conference champions, or whatever, or have a great year and go up against the Celtics, shouldn't you?
I mean, I don't have them winning the East.
No,
It
but
has
okay,
to- it
but
has
say
to
they go
happen.
and give Boston 7. If they win this series, they've gone farther than the Sixers have the whole time of Joel
Absolutely,
Embiid.
but I don't think my goal at the end of the season is not to break this second round ceiling. My goal is to go win a title. And this is something
no question about
Tyrone
it.
was talking about it yesterday on the best show ever. I talked about him off the air. We had a good off the air conversation about
He
it.
didn't say it was good. He said you had a conversation.
Well, I thought
you
it was
described
good.
it as
I
good.
thought it was good.
He was
I understand.
indifferent.
Listen, a lot of the conversations I feel like are good. I go back, listen to the tape, and you know what happens. Okay, we're all working towards something here. But when it comes to the idea of going to win a championship, like that's where my mindset is. My mindset is not necessarily like we get so focused on, how would you have gotten past the series that you played? You can't play that series again. You won't play that series again. How do you best put yourself in a position to win in today's NBA and to win a title in today's NBA? I can't play that Knicks team again. I won't. But I can look at this roster and how do I maximize it in today's NBA? We're so fixated, and we're going to continue to be all offseason. Well, the rebounds, or did you get enough here? Did you get enough there? Yeah, you know what? You lost to the Knicks. If the Knicks go and win the title, all right, fine. It's how do you beat the Knicks? It's the Knicks league.
Yeah.
I don't think they're getting out of the East. And
no,
ultimately, I wanna
probably
beat
not.
Boston.
Like that's the safe man's bet. Like they're not going to get past the Celtics.
And they could prove me wrong again. I didn't,
Well, that's the great thing about sports. You just don't know.
Right.
You could go back, and John does this a lot. No offense to John at all. And he and I used to, not argue, but go back and forth about it. Where John's more of a, look, if it hasn't happened in the past, it's probably not going to happen in the future. And that's understandable. But my thing is, you never know with sport. Like, I got married on March 13th one year, and we had a blizzard. Okay? Guess what? Every March 13th since then has been a beautiful day. And I'm not kidding you. Like, every one. Does that mean, like, it's never going to be a blizzard again? No. Does it mean, like, when we planned March 13th, we should have known there was not going to be a blizzard? No, you just don't know. I lean towards John's way of thinking of, look, if it's the norm, it's probably going to happen more times than not. I can't bank on it. I'll tell you what. I'm not going to make predictions on Knicks Celtics, but there's going to be teams looking at that Knicks team saying, it's a copycat league. Is this a way to go? What they're doing is unbelievable. They're missing a 25-point-a-night scorer. And they're a better team almost without Julius Randle, it appears. I don't know what you can copy. It's just the point being made of.
I don't know what you can copy, and I don't know. If I'm an executive around the league, am I looking at the Knicks saying, wow, it's amazing what they're doing? Or, wow, look at what the East was this year. They were able to get the second seed by a couple of games. Is it a sustainable formula for me to follow?
Good point.
Like, they weren't head and shoulders above the rest of the East. They ended up with the second seed because, hey, Thibodeau maxes out for a season. They get the Sixers in round one. They beat the 76ers. Absolutely did. I'm not taking anything away from them. They get the Pacers because the Pacers get past a Bucks team that I don't know. That organization's got a lot to figure out. So good luck to you in Milwaukee. I don't want to be talking about your offseason. But they get a Pacers team in the second round that we all think is probably a year or two off from a rival if they get there. Like if they keep Siakam, if they can keep moving forward with this.
Right.
Okay, if they get past them, you get the Celtics. And that's part of the reason why when we do the whole path conversation every postseason, I get so annoyed with it because it's like, oh, yeah, this is the best possible path. It's all going to shake out in some way.
The way it's supposed to.
Right. Yes, would have been if the Sixers had beat the Knicks, would be sitting here right now, oh, my God, they're going to get past the second round. Well, they're going to get past the Celtics. Are they going to, that's, to me, it's about winning the championship. And for the Knicks, I think right now, if I'm an executive, I'll take a look at what they did, but am I convinced that it's a sustainable model to win year in and year out in this league and not the byproduct of an Eastern Conference that was weak and a setup that probably they played their way into it. Give them their credit for playing their way into it, but also played into their favor.
You made a great statement there that made my ears stick up a little bit. Is it the model? You have Joel Embiid here for the last 7-8 years playing basketball, getting teams to playoffs. Why haven't they been able to figure out the model around him? It's going to be the age-old question and all that. All right, listen, all you guys that are on the line, we're going to get to you as soon as we get back. We have a few texts talking about the Sixers. It's funny, we talked about the best team in baseball right now, and that's fun and stuff. But then when it gets into the heart, and this is what I love about Philly, when it gets hard into a conversation, you want to go for what's there. You want to go for, the hard stuff to talk about. Right now, it is what Daryl Morey does this offseason with the 76ers. This is Middays, Bob Cooney, 97.5, The Fanatic. Hey, welcome back. 1:30 here at the Fanatic, getting you ready for the best show ever. As you have Tyrone and Bill Colarulo today. As Ricky is on assignment with the Philadelphia Phillies, the best team in baseball right now. You hate it, but you're going to have a T-shirt by the end of the week, Ray, and it's going to have the big letters on it, BRIB, and you're going to wear it, and you're probably going to keep changing the numbers on it, but you're going to love it because Brib is your new favorite. What do you call that when you go like letter?
Acronym?
Acronym. There it is.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
No problem.
I like to make Ray feel like he's smart every once in a while. And
it takes a lot. It does. So I appreciate you trying to keep me up for that.
I think you're pretty good at it. We don't have any names or any subjects on the board. There are callers there. So why don't we head, but while we get that all straightened out, how about if we head to a text that we have about free agency, Ray?
Sure. Let's go around to free agency. Let's go Big L from Jersey.
Hey, what do you say, Big L?
Constructing this roster. I think Embiid needs shooters around him and someone not scared to attack the basket. Then they need a backup big who can shoot and rebound. And this is an interesting perspective on this one. Is Maxey untouchable? I don't know if I would, but would you trade away Maxey for a superstar?
Who?
Steph Curry was one that was listed on this one.
Do you know how old Steph Curry is now?
36.
For some reason, I think I looked that up at the beginning of this year, just not specifically looking to see how old he was. I think I was looking up a stat, and I was like, whoa, really? Trade Tyree? No, I'm sorry. 23? No.
Last offseason, I entertained it. Absolutely.
And we have to give Daryl Morey credit for not doing it, don't we?
Absolutely, because I'll be the first to say I didn't think that leap was there, and he did it. And I'm very happy he did it. Brings me back to one of my favorite Brian Windhorst quotes of all time.
Really? And what is that?
That is the when he was on, I think it was his podcast, talking about the way the Sixers value Tyrese Maxey. Michael Jordan's available? Not interested. Giannis wants to be a Sixer? Lose our number. Prime LeBron James walks through that door? Forget about it. It was something like that.
Yeah.
The exact quote is actually the favorite piece of audio that I've ever pushed play on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, since I started working with you.
I don't think we've played it before.
I mean, like, when you push audio of me speaking, that's your favorite audio.
Yes, obviously. Yeah, this all predates working with you.
Right,
Yes,
okay. Yeah,
absolutely.
I just want to make sure that the
report
listeners
is now
knew
my
that.
favorite, yeah.
Yeah.
The last week report.
And we're going to have Amy in on it this week.
Yeah,
I'm so excited.
Amy made
Multiple
a couple
times?
mistakes.
Did she?
Yesterday was tough.
All right. Well, that's what we like to see. So we're talking with you. What do we have here? Do you have anything up there, Ray? Because I don't have anything here. I'm going to blank.
No, we're getting you another text here, actually, because we want to jump into a little bit more of some of the people that really just want to chime in on their interest for this offseason. Howie from Miami checking in. And if it's not LeBron, looking to go for, and I think this is one that's been, actually, I think Howie went into the morning show with this one, the Portland idea of going after Grant, going after Brogdon, and trying to snatch a couple players from them right now.
Now, I hate to put this label on somebody because many put this label on Kelly Oubre, and I think people like Kelly Oubre. All right, I'll put the question to you. How do you describe Jeremy Grant? A big scorer on not a great team?
Nice piece.
Nice piece.
Yeah.
Okay. Malcolm Brogdon, he basically hasn't been starting in the league for a little while, Brogdon. Nice piece off the bench. I mean, that's what he was with Boston when you had a good team.
Right?
You'd bring him in here as a
Boston's
starter.
continued to be successful.
So how do you label him?
I think
you're just going to say nice piece also.
Yeah, fine piece.
So is that the answer to your question?
In terms of what they're being paid and what they would do to lift your ceiling of a team, no thanks.
You're talking 30 and 22. 30 million and 22 million is what they're getting. I looked it up the other day. Jeremy Grant's getting 30 and Brogdon's 22. That's an awful lot of money that you're paying for someone who Ray Dunn described as nice piece, good piece. That's a lot of money. $55 million for 2 pieces.
Right. I can go elsewhere with that and feel a lot better. So
Yeah.
thanks, but no thanks, Howie.
Yeah, I think you could too. All right, Ray, let me put it to you. What do you think Daryl Morey's first move is going to be this offseason? Generalization, you can go general, you can go specific. We're going to take draft out of it because we all know the date of the draft coming and, but.
Screw you, Bob Cooney.
Is that what you're going to say?
I was going to be captain up. Well, I think draft's going to happen.
Well, I don't think it's really smart to make moves before the trade. I mean, before the draft, because, there's some definition going on there. Like, that's kind of hand in hand.
Yeah, I was just going to mess around with that. I was only
go ahead. Mess around with it. Say what you're going to say.
No, I was just going to say, I think he's first going to do the draft because that's, timeline-wise. When we get to the actual move of the offseason, I think it's going to be swinging. I think it's going to be swinging for the fences. I think he's going to be that first move is going to be the going after a star. I don't think this is going to be a team that's shy in spending that money. Like, I think he'll look at it as, okay, we think my great advantage here is having one of the best coaches in the NBA, and I've got 2 pillars of my team. Why am I not going to try and put a third star around them? To me, that seems to be the way he would swing. Looking at the big moves, he's never been one to just, we're going to cobble it together. He'll fill out his roster with former Rockets and guys that he loved 10 years ago. But when he wants a team to succeed,
don't say that. Yeah. That's the only thing that gets me.
I'm sorry. Is it something I would do? You asked me if I'm Daryl Morey. I'm sure that we're going to get.
You're getting a little
I'm just
combative.
telling you, I don't want him to do it either. But I've already accepted that I'm going to inevitably see a couple of guys who are Rockets on this team. Or he drafted because he's very.
Daniel House is coming back.
He's also good at I drafted this guy. I traded him. He ended up being good. So I'm bringing, D'Anthony Melton, I think, fits that. I think he also drafted Batum. It's a long history. Go through his transactions page of basketball. No, I'm not saying to you specifically.
Right.
I just mean people out there. Even the guys you don't think are Morey retreads are actually Morey retreads.
Just look at this Sixers team this year. Look at the transactions he made.
Yeah, Daryl Morey loves being right about someone. And if you prove him right once, he's going to be an ally of yours forever. But I think with the way you've seen him go in the past, the way he's made swings when he was with the Rockets, the way he's made swings here, I think it's a star. I don't think you sit through this season the way you did with the idea of flexibility this offseason without the thought process that I'm swinging for a third star.
So I'm gonna pose this question to you real quick, and I'll probably pose this tomorrow on a bigger scale to our listeners when we have more time to talk about it. Do you have more confidence that Daryl Morey, can he fail miserably this offseason? You have so much to work with, so much money, trade, whatever you want to do, free agency, money, a draft. Is there any chance he could is it a chance higher that he'll do well this summer or do not well this summer?
Probably a greater chance that he doesn't do well. I think you're graded at this point on a championship. So if you don't put together a team that goes and makes a run.
But we can't we can only grade them going into the season on what he's done. Let's say that.
Okay, so if you're grading the offseason, there is a way where this goes poorly, absolutely. There's a chance he could fail this offseason, and there's the chance that we'll be saying he failed this offseason that's not necessarily things that he could control. He has ideas of what's going to come to fruition with this league, but this is a day-to-day league.
Yeah, sure it is. Good point.
Someone could, Pat Riley popped off on Jimmy Butler in the exit conversation. Who's to say it doesn't happen when another team gets eliminated? And then all of a sudden, this star is upset. Well, this star triggers a trade with this. Drew Holiday ended up on the Celtics. That was a part of a lot of different things happening. You could end up working into a player that you didn't realize was going to necessarily be there. You shouldn't start the offseason on the Bucks and end up on the Celtics. Well, guess what? You did because Dame was upset. Dame didn't get his way to Miami. Dame ends up going there. You end up being the return to Portland. Portland has no interest in competing, and now all of a sudden you're in Boston. This is such a long, process of getting to where we're going to see these moves made.
Right.
That
you don't even know what all the pieces are.
You don't know what all the pieces are.
Many of the pieces are.
Right. So I think there's you have a great runway for success. You have assets to give up. You have cap space. You have money to spend. But there is a chance that, what you thought was going to happen, what you were looking forward to happening, doesn't happen. And is your pivot point correct? I think he's pretty good at recognizing what's happening around the league. is his pivot point going to be something that can work out? Because right now we're all set. We got what, 4 names that people are enamored by when it comes to stars, and then
Yeah, sure.
All those guys could end up one somewhere else without you even getting a whiff of a chance, or two, we could. Oh, I don't want to talk about that guy anymore because someone else, more desirable comes available.
Yeah, it's funny. You mentioned the Milwaukee Bucks, and you said it real quickly, and they got to figure out where they're going. Should we be more commendable to, more commendable to the Sixers for staying afloat, for lack of a better term, for 8 years and plus going on? Because I assume over the next 3 years they're going to be contenders. When Milwaukee won, you won. And then since then, it's kind of gone downhill to the point of you had an assistant coach that just quit before the season started. You made a coaching change when you were like 33 and 18 or something like that. And then things fell apart. So I know they have the championship in the. That's going to be your first thing. Understand that.
But that's where this is. That's
where it all starts and ends.
I mean, ultimately, this is where it's going to begin and end. Like, you think about the timeline of ascension for these two organizations, it's pretty similar. I mean, they get Giannis, after the Michael Carter Williams pick? And they slowly make their rise through here. They went on, they go out, get a holiday. They put together something. They won a championship. If Giannis doesn't win that championship in 2021, after the last 2 seasons, what are we talking about? Wow, he wasn't healthy at the end, and they had some early exits. But guess what? He's got a ring. Last year, he had the right to end up saying that season wasn't a failure because I don't grade it as a failure that way. If Embiid had said that, it would have set the world on fire because Embiid hasn't won one.
Right.
The perspective on people will change. It starts and ends with whether you've had a parade.
It does. You're right.
Giannis, at this point,
that can't be a but. That has to be the headline.
Right. It starts then with they could be looking at, is this the end of the road for the Bucks? If it is, guess what? You celebrated.
Right.
That's ultimately, you're upset that it ended, but you've been in contention about the same amount of time as them. They had the one breakthrough. You haven't.
You're right. It is the ultimate goal, and he does have that. All right, listen, we've had some callers on the line. We're having some trouble with our lines here or something. There's been trouble on our computers today. So we apologize. I can't see a thing on my board, Ray. We'll try to fix that. If you can, sit tight. We'll try to get to you when we get back. What happened is my caller board, I don't have any identification of who's who or what you want to talk about, and can't just go to you blindly. So we'll try to get that fixed as quick as we can. In the meantime, we will be back for another segment. I'm Bob Cooney. This is 97.5 Middays. tours. Set sail with the Fanatic deal of the week. This week only, get the first 6 spots for your private Tiki cruise from Pauhana Tiki Boat Tours for half off. It's only $225. Float on the Ocean City Bay on a private 26-foot cruise equipped with a thatched roofs, club-quality speakers, and barstool seating. Get this exclusive offer while supplies last at 975thefanatic.com/deals. All right, Ray, talking a lot about free agency, what Daryl Morey may do, all of those things. We're having some trouble with our phone line, so we apologize on that for those of you who made some calls, but we can't wait to talk to you tomorrow as we only have a few minutes left in this show before the best show ever comes up. So many things that we went over today. Daryl Morey, what would you do? Where would you go if you were him? Also, what would you do if you were him? And we also talked a lot about the Philadelphia Phillies today. And this is just, it's just been a great time. And some of the numbers that they've put up over the last 21 games, I read them to you earlier, but they're pretty cool. And, you know, I like to end you with some numbers sometimes because this is how good this team has been. They've won 7 in a row. They've won 11 in a row at home. Look, these aren't numbers that you can just kind of sneeze at because we know in a 162-game season how tough it is to put together stretches like this. 18 of 21 overall they've won. In their 18 of 21 wins, they've outscored opponents 130 to 63. That's averaging wins of 6.2 to 3 a game. They've had 4 shutouts in those 21 games. 12 times they've held the other team to 3 runs or less. And in 15 of those 18 wins, they've been won by a starting pitcher. So it's just phenomenal what the Phillies have been able to do during this stretch run. We talked about individuals. We talked about Bryce Harper. You get Trey Turner goes out with an injury the other day, and all of a sudden Bryce Harper's hitting a 3-run homer, then another 3-run homer, then a grand slam. It's just been unbelievable, what he's been able to do during this little stretch so far of Trey Turner being out. But you wonder if it's something that he's going to carry over in the long stretch. I said earlier, he seems like the kind of player, and you can take any sport you want, that can flick a switch and become that guy. And not that he wasn't that guy before all this, but I just think he sees the limelight a little bit more than most players and knows how to react to it. We talked about players that you trust. Ray, do you think during this stretch that Trey Turner's out, and then we talked about 6 weeks and all of that, if we look at that 6-week stretch, once Trey Turner comes back, do you think we're going to look at it and go, my God, look at those numbers that Bryce Harper put up?
I think we're going to do it regardless of who's available right now. I think he's just clicking. I think he's just found it. It was interesting. I was sitting at the game with a friend, one of the games over the weekend, and it was like, yeah, he's hitting like 215, 220, and his on base is 370. You know, people are still respecting him, but he isn't quite making you pay necessarily for some of the pitches that you're throwing his way. Well, now he's making you pay. And now you've seen him really, really deliver in just finding the baseball and being able to put it out. I think he's getting launched. He's pretty locked in. You mentioned him just standing there and just being at the plate, just ready to go. He's locked into that level right now where he's going to give you something special night in and night out. I think we're going to probably look at that 6 weeks as the time that he carried them without Trey Turner. But I think he has just found that stride. And, you know, it's taken him a little bit historically to do it. And here we are in early May. And we were talking before the season, what are we excited about? Full season of Bryce Harper.
Yeah.
That's something to be excited. The numbers that he's putting up already, and we're just talking about him feeling like he's just getting locked in. It's going to be a fun summer for him.
Well, it's funny what you just brought up there for people that didn't see it or didn't hear it earlier today. I talked about that Bryce Harper had in the bat last night against Barrios. And he was so locked in. The first pitch is thrown. It's inside for a ball. The catcher, what is his name, Kirk, the chubby guy? Kirk goes to throw it back. And, you know, usually you'll see batters step out of the box or move away, and the catcher throws. Catcher kind of went through it, and Harper wasn't moving. And it was one of those cases where he had to just lob it over his head like, you know, Okay, he didn't get out of the way. Second pitch comes, same thing. Harper, I described it like a guy on the foul line that's shooting well. You don't want to leave your spot when you're shooting well on the foul line. Harper didn't want to get out of that box even a little bit. And for like 6, 7, 8 pitches, just stayed there, locked in, and fouled off a bunch of pitches and did what he had to do and had a great at-bat and winds up. They called it a line shot to left field. I thought it was more of a little blooper, kind of like, humpback liner, we'll call it. How about that, Ray? You like that?
That works, yeah.
You like that term, humpback liner.
Yeah, sure. It's my favorite of all the baseball terms.
But I did. And I told you, you guys know out there that are listening, I look at things differently. And I'll notice, like in a picture, I won't notice the big part of the picture. I look at the little, intangibles in the picture. I thought that was a big thing last night, that this is how locked in this dude is. He gets a single at that at-bat, then later on gets a grand slam. I just think he's going to be this guy. I like how you put it, Ray. No, you're not going to be able to tell that he picked it up when Trey Turner was out. It's going to be all part of a great season that you believe he's going to have.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the expectation for him at this point. That's who he is for this team at this point. I think we all subconsciously, I don't think, said Bryce Harper as the most trusted one, because I think all of us were like, well, someone else is going to cover that one.
Yeah, his name didn't come up on the question that I posed today of who's the athlete or who is the sports figure, because I wanted to include in, managers and coaches and all that you trust the most. We got Zach Wheeler. I said JT Realmuto. Amy said Zach Wheeler. You said Ranger Suarez. We had an A.J. Brown. Somebody said Tyrese Maxey. There's a whole bunch of different players you could say. All good, fun answers. But, yeah, you're right. I don't think anybody said Bryce Harper simply because it was somebody's going to say Bryce Harper. So all good on that. All right, listen. Need you to stay tuned for the best show ever. It's coming up. You got Tyrone and Bill Colarulo is in also today. Tomorrow we'll be joining you at 10 a.m. Phillies going on this long winning streak that they have going. We'll see how that all plays out. And we can't stop talking 76ers. It just keeps coming up. Thanks for joining us today, guys. We will talk to you tomorrow at 10 o'clock.